back in Arkham, and he's kind of maybe maintained some sort of loose affiliation or connections with some of the members of the society, as part of his work, that sort of thing.
Excellent. With your boxer, do you think it makes sense? Like, have you had like a recent thing and you've since started coming to like club meetings for the Society of the Exploration of the Unexplained? Or do you think this is something that had happened ages ago and you used to go to these events?
No, no, I think maybe I just came back into town and somebody kind of pointed me in the right direction because I've been recently having some kind of experience or something like that.
Gotcha. Excellent. So what we'll probably end up doing is I can have you guys start rolling some dice now, or I can actually start to point you into the direction of kind of what is actually happening here, and we'll get the scenario started before you actually like start to roll things. Does it show you everything that like the boxers modifications and everything?
It says like dodge, fighting, brawl, intimidate, jump, like that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So I don't have to look those things up. It should set it all up for both of you.
And then what town did you say this was taken, that college was at?
I actually have the map now in Owlbear Rodeo switched over to Arkham. Arkham is the actual town. Again, it's just kind of northeast of Boston. And then Miskatonic University is kind of the heart of Arkham.
Justin, what age were you kind of thinking for your character?
I've got him at 38, so he's kind of he's been out of school obviously for a while, but he's not like you know uh, super old. He's kind of so 38.
Okay, I was kind of thinking maybe my guy's been out of town for a while, and he just showed back up. Maybe he's alumni too. Maybe we kind of know each other from back in the day.
Yeah, yeah, that works.
Yeah, so maybe it's the type of thing where when you two were going to school, you were not necessarily as interested in some of what Declan was, where he was maybe going a little bit deeper into some of these obscure sciences and like occult studies. You just kind of shrugged it off until you had that experience.
Yeah, that sounds good. I like it.
So if you guys are ready to roll for stats, this is where again you can either roll at your house like personal dice, or you can roll these in Owlbear Rodeo. But essentially, we'll roll 3d6 to generate each stat.
So, can you give me the quick rundown on how to roll in Owlbear? Right now, I have the big map up.
Gotcha. So in Owlbear Rodeo on the top left, you should be able to see it's a little box, like a rectangle that's kind of split with half of it's white, half of it's black, left and right. If you click that, it should expand the die roller.
Okay, sweet.
And
Uh,
then,
I might roll regular dice. I don't get to do that too often.
gotcha. Yeah, most of what we'll use here ends up being the D100 at the base in Owlbear Rodeo. But if you select, I think if you go to the D6 and click it 3 times, it's going to add 3d6. Yeah, so you'll click it like 3 times, and then when you go to roll again, you can just click in like the bottom right. There's a re-roll dice button, but effectively, once you roll a die, it stays in there. So you either need to clear it in the bottom left or just click re-roll in the bottom right.
Okay, sweet. And are you able to like see this? Is it giving you a feed too?
Theoretically, if you do not have it set to block it, if the very bottom part of the die roller shows a little world, I think it's meant to be like North America and South America. It should be sharing the dice with me. I believe you should be able to see that I just rolled a 9 with my dice.
Yeah, I see your like little feet on the side. Did you see mine came through or no?
I don't see them yet, so you might have that globe kind of crossed out.
Okay, I got it. It's uncrossed now. Do I try again?
I see 16 now.
Oh, sweet. Okay, cool.
So when you roll, we're going to have you roll top to bottom. So that's 16. This is where things kind of will get weird. I want you guys to re-roll ones. I assume with a 16, I don't think you can actually roll a 1. Yeah, 4 has got to be the lowest number that you roll. So for your strength, just right now, if you have a piece of scrap paper, that's probably best to write these down. But for right now, your strength is going to be 16. And again, scrap paper is better. If we have to go right into the sheet, we can do that. Just let me know if you have, if you don't have scrap paper, because if you put it directly in, multiply it by 5 right now.
I'm good right now, or I can put it in. So I'll just scrap paper it to go, and then I can punch them all in at once.
Yeah, scrap paper is better to start off with right now.
And we're going all the way down strength to luck, right?
So strength and then con are 3d6. Size is 2d6 plus 6. And then dex and appearance are 3d6. Intelligence is 2d6 plus 6. Power is 3d6. Education is 2d6 plus 6. And luck is 2d6 plus 6. So that's why I kind of was going to go one by one. So if you guys have strength and con set, those are both done by 3d6.
Okay. Yeah, I actually haven't. I haven't started rolling it. I just wanted to check before I started. Okay, so let me roll strength now, or strength. So I'll do strength and then con.
And then again, let me know if you get a 1, you can re-roll the 1.
Sweet. Okay, I have my first two so far, and I changed my name. I will be a Robert.
Excellent. And then
All right, so I got 8 for strength and a 7 for con.
either of those with any 1s,
Nope, lots of 2s and 3s, but no 1s.
crushing it. So for size, we'll roll 2d6 and add 6.
All right, so that'll be a 14.
Yeah, that's what I got too.
And then for dexterity and appearance, 3d6. They're 2 separate skills, but they're the next ones.
I'm gonna re-roll my 1.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, so 12 dex.
I'm 11 on that one. I might not have said my first couple. I was 16, 12, 14, 11 so far.
Yeah, you're good. And then appearance is 3d6.
What if what if our second one is a 1? That's just a 2, like normal?
I would say just all around reroll 1s. Right now, we're not creating a character necessarily for a campaign. I'd rather you be on the high side, especially since I'm not terribly familiar. I don't think like having low stats. It's probably a lot like D&D, where it just creates more fun situations. But for now, let's make sure to have higher.
Gotcha. Well, even re-rolling that 1s, that's a 9.
I re-rolled 1 there, so I'm actually 12, not 13.
And then intelligence is 2d6 plus 6.
15. That's why I became a book dealer.
Okay, so I rolled a 3 and then a 1, and then I re-rolled the 1 and got a 1. Can I opt to keep this one?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to re-roll it. I would normally say re-roll it anyways, but like if you want to have a low intelligence, that is perfectly acceptable, and it obviously fits.
Yeah, it seems like super thematic that I'm like a boxer and I might not be the smartest guy. I mean, I like it.
And then power will be 3d6.
So what was that, +6 then, or for intelligence?
Oh yeah, intelligence was +6, so I think you'll be, what is that, 410?
Yeah, I'll be a 10.
And for me, 12 for power.
What was that, 3d6 again?
Correct.
I haven't rolled a single 6 yet.
I re-rolled a 1 there, so I have a 11.
And then education, you will have 2d6 +6.
All right, 14.
I'm also 14.
And then for luck, it is 2d6 +6.
All right, 17. My first 6.
Nice. I'm 12 on that one.
Apropos for the luck skill.
Alrighty. So you guys should have, what is that, 9 different skills rolled out at present, right? You've got them all set?
Yeah, I have 9.
So
Yep.
the first thing to then do is it's worth keeping track of what these are now, because if you don't modify these in the next few moments, this is the 1/5 score that you need as like extreme tests. So it's worth keeping in mind like that notation is potentially still useful. But at present, multiply all of those by 5, and those will be the target numbers that we use for most tests. So if you're trying to do something and you're trying to roll to beat like a strength check, you want to roll underneath whatever your strength score is times 5. I think Justin, you said yours was like 13. Damn it. I think Robert's strength was like 13 or something. So his strength is going to be like 65 or below. So a 65 or lower on the percentile is a successful strength check.
So because we're trying to roll under them, we want them to be higher, theoretically.
That is correct.
And then what was that you were saying about modifying them?
Once you have all those multiplied out, just let me know.
Oh, yeah, I did mine.
And is Declan all set? Do you have yours multiplied out as well?
Just finishing that up now.
Gotcha. So when you go to fill in your character sheets on the D-Holes house, like your strength will be the first big box, and then we'll kind of continue forward here. But once you have those all set up with your like main stats, like with the ones that are multiplied by 5, once you have that big box filled out, I'll then have you roll a d10, and you have an opportunity to increase some of those stats.
So I'm changing right now where it says strength 15. I'm going to change that to my first number that I rolled, which was 80 after I multiplied it by 5.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, I think I'm all set. And it looks like it actually keeps track on the site of what the 1/5 number is. So that bottom right.
Gotcha. Yeah, if it's modifying them in real time, a lot of the character sheets are good about it. I had difficulty when I was doing it with Chaosium's version, but that was one thing that I feel like is part of why I liked once I switched over to D-Hole. Oh, and you might also notice when you're modifying those numbers, there's like the +1, +5, -1, and -5. That's how you want to modify those numbers on your characteristics. So when the two of you are ready here, and you have those kind of multiplied out, if you will, each of you roll a D10.
All right, I got a 3.
So effectively, you can add, 15 points to your different stats. So like if you had, like I know Robert has an 80 strength, he could add up to 15 points to strength and take it up to a 95. What that would mean is he is almost always successful, except for in this game, it is a critical failure to roll a 100. If you are like proficient, or rather the version of proficiency in Call of Cthulhu, if you are proficient in something, you actually critically fail on a 96 or higher. So like the more likely you are to succeed also increases the likeliness that you critically fail, because you succeed so often. But you can spread that out between any of those except for luck.
Gotcha. I added a bit to my con, and then just a little bit to appearance. So I assume that's what APP stands for.
Yep. And did you roll a 4 with Robert?
Yeah, and I still got like 2 more I'm punching in.
Gotcha. So you would be able to add 20 to any of those skills, again, except for luck. And then I think both of you said that your characters are essentially 38, so you're within 20 and 39. You can make one education check. Is that correct that you're both 38?
Yeah, we said we went to school together, so I just changed my age to like same thing.
So this is where once you have your final number for your education, you'll roll a D100. And if you get below your education, you succeed that education check.
Yep, 32. So I'm under.
Stupid. That's what we just did, actually, was improving. So we just kind of gave you guys the education.
Oh, that you do that before the D10. You get the D10 if you.
Yeah, the D10
Gotcha.
is assuming that you pass it.
So what are the stats again? It's strength, dex, intelligence, constitution,
Hold up.
app.
Strength, con, size, dex, appearance, intelligence, power, education.
Oh wait.
Oh, my bad. I see what order you went in. We rolled in a different order than it would have gone in. So your notes should have been in the order that I just said. Strength, con,
okay.
size, dex, appearance, intelligence, power, education. My bad. I didn't realize that it was out of order on D-Hole.
Okay, strength, con, size, dex.
And then appearance, intelligence, power, education.
Okay, sorry. Let me fix those. I did not realize they were in different order, so I just put them in the same order.
So while you adjust those, the next thing we would do is actually to test like the halves and the fifths. And again, that's just going with the idea where Robert's strength is nice and simple. 80 strength, half of that is 40. A hard success is rolling 40 or below, because it is half his strength skill or below. And then the extreme success is the 5th, which is the 16. So those are like the different levels of how this gameplay works. Is a normal roll is your stat. You want to meet it or get lower. A hard success is half of that stat, meet it or get lower. And then an extreme success is 1/5 of that stat, meet it or get lower. But because that's calculated online, you should have all of those once you have all of those 9 numbers input.
Yep. All right. I see him on.
Okay, so I have my 9 numbers all inputted and correct. I added in my 20 bonus points from whatever that was you told me. Do I put something in here for luck?
Luck should have been the last number that you rolled, the 9th number. It should have been 2d6 plus 6.
Oh, okay, 60. Yeah, so that's correct. Okay, so I have the luck in here correctly. So wasn't there one more thing I had to do?
The education roll, I was about to have you do that, but I actually made a mistake. The person who's like walkthrough, I kind of took my notes on. He just gives people the education instead of having them roll against it. So I already gave you the D10 extra education things before making you roll to see if you got it.
Okay, so that's already inputted.
Yeah. So next, we'll take your strength plus your size. And basically, I assume both of you are approximately between 80 and 124. But let me know if you add your strength plus your size, what your number is, please.
110 for me.
All right, so your
150.
average 150. So under your damage bonus, and it may have this set for you again. I created a character with the whole, but I'm not terribly familiar. But you might have a plus 1d4 for damage bonus. Does it list that in the top center? About 4th down, you'll see like damage bonus.
Yeah, it says plus 1d4.
Excellent. So it's already got you covered. And then your build probably is listed as 1 for Robert.
Yeah, it's plus 1.
Excellent. So that's got it all set for you. It kind of recognized that your character is a little bit larger, a little bit stronger. And then the next thing, it probably understands this, but your hit points are your constitution plus your size. And then you divide that by, I believe it's 20.
Looks like 10.
Yep, it's 10. So add your con and your size and then divide by 10. And I think D Holes is going to have that already set for you as well.
Yep, and I'm assuming it's rounding. Yeah, rounding down. Yep, that's right. 11 for me.
Yeah, mine's exactly 140 and it has me at 14.
Gotcha. So each of you are below 40, which means you're not going to get a movement deduction. If your dex and strength are each less than your size, you might have a lower movement. But again, D-Hole probably has your movement calculated for you. More than likely, you probably have a movement of 8.
I've got 7. And my dex and strength are below size, so I guess that's right. Or below, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine is what you said. I have 70 size and my strength and dex are 80 and 70 respectively, so I have move 8.
And then we've got you guys for your occupations already. Each of those tells you some other things that you have going. What did you say you were going for, Declan, as an occupation?
Book dealer.
Alrighty. So when you guys are going to go into your skill points here. What you end up doing is, I think you'll go for save and continue to actually go to the next page. I think it's going to give you access to those things that you still have for your character. But basically, what it's going to tell you is you need to select a certain number of skills. And like for book dealer, it's history, library use, your language, one other language of choice, and then you can select one of those interpersonal skills that there are basically, what is that, 4 different choices of. And you can put 60 occupation points into those. As well, it gives you a credit rating. That's all going to be kind of set for you. I think D-Hole's just going to calculate it all. And then Boxer, yeah, you're going to have a pretty similar thing where your occupation points are 190, and you'll put them into the same idea: dodge, fighting, intimidate, jump, psychology, spot hidden, and then 2 other skills of your choice, which are basically just kind of personal things. So when you guys are set there with like residence, birthplace, name, age, all of those things should be set. You should be good to save and continue and start to put points into those skills that are particular to your occupation.
Okay, so I'm seeing a balance of 260. Does that sound right?
That does indeed. Um, yeah, I'm having trouble kind of like switching back to it. But one of the things is there's a certain amount that are part of the skill, a certain amount are like intelligence based. But yeah, you can basically modify all of those skills and you can get them. Those are the things you're going to be good at. Um, so this is kind of like the heart of creating your character at this point. It's kind of keep in mind, like Call of Cthulhu is a skill-based game. Your skills are what you'll level up as you play, not necessarily like trying to get levels for your character. If you use something, you have a chance to improve it. Oh, it might take you next into the education updates. I should have familiarized myself with D-Hole. My apologies.
Oh, how do you go back if you accidentally go to the next screen?
Try just pressing back on your browser.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Duh. And then for the occupation skill points, how does that work again?
So most of your skill points should go into specific ones, and then I think you have like 2 that you can choose just kind of anything. And you just want to try to make yourself good at those different things. So offhand, like fighting brawl was one of them. If you're a boxer, you want to make sure that that's a, like 65 is a pretty high skill. 2 out of 3 times you're going to be successful punching somebody with the 65. So that's one of the things to kind of keep in mind. Like, this is where you're creating who your character is by making sure to have enough points into that. So,
All
60.
all the things that kind of came up like don't really fit. It's really weird. I feel like I got the wrong list.
What came up for you?
I mean, it's counting, anthropology, appraise, archaeology, charm, climb, disguise, drive, auto, electrical repair. I mean, there's some that would work, but
So
there's. Oh, go ahead.
that's the list of all of the skills. Is dodge higher than some others? Fighting brawl higher some others?
Neither one of those is on my list.
Oh, those are for the other 2 skills I think that you have to select first here. So these are the other two things that are going to also be a part of who your character is. So this is just two extra things that you're good at. So if you're like a smooth, fast talker, go for fast talk. If you don't have a corner man, so you're often doing your own first aid, add first aid. If you're
Oh, I got you. Okay, okay. I'm good. I got it. I got it. All right, so now I'm on the next page.
Yeah, so once you get to that next page, that should then let you know these are the things that you want to add those, I think, 190 points to. And they all start at a certain number, and this might be different for each of you. But like, I'm pretty sure anybody can fire a gun and be successful. If you train in it, you might be more successful. So I think everybody starts with about 25 in fighter brawl. If you want to be really good at it, you need to add points to it. And that's kind of where things come down to like how you spend those points.
Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. All right. And then credit rating is like literally like credit?
Yeah, credit rating in a one shot is not nearly as important as it can be like down the line. But like suffice it to say, this is one of those things like I know you've watched that like B-Dave one where he's basically just a rich character, and like his whole thing is he's constantly buying everything for everybody. That's one of those things that there are certain people who what they're good at is spending money. And there's a certain level of having somebody with a high credit rating. It means that they have a lot of assets that they can leverage against money. Whereas, like, a college professor might have $40 to his name and, like $400 in assets that if shit hit the fan, he could liquidate and have $400 on him. Whereas like somebody who's extremely wealthy might just be able to have $1,000 on hand at the click of their fingers.
Okay, so I got all my points allocated. Um, do I need to do anything else on this screen? It just says cash and assets is pretty much the only other thing I haven't done anything with.
Yeah, I think that should put you guys pretty solid there.
Yeah, so I uploaded a character portrait, and I think yep, and then so I'm now on the character control panel.
I somehow got to personal interests.
Yeah, I feel like that's just kind of backstory stuff. You should be able to kind of save out of that. I feel like that and kind of the idea that you could buy other things is maybe a little bit beyond what we'll kind of go into here, as that's kind of just jumping a little deeper into the game. But theoretically, you guys have kind of fully created characters at this point.
So what's like the main screen that we just want to like keep that on?
Um, I'm inclined to point you to just saving a version of your character. Like if you, what is it? Go to Cthulhu 7th edition investigators, and then you actually select on yourself. There's a little like circular button that should take you to the character sheet. And then I would say grab the in like kind of the middle left grayscale character sheet, and that should print out, or rather, it'll try to save a PDF of that character sheet. Did each of you find that like saving point all right?
Yeah, I found it. It really wants me to allocate these personal interest points.
Oh, personal interest might be those two extra skills. Is that like maybe what you selected for those other things? Your character might not be finished yet.
Yeah, but I allocated points when I had like 300 to spend, and now it says balance 100 on this next screen. It says used 0, balance 100. And then it's like accounting, anthropology, appraisal. Do I pump those skills up again?
Yeah, I would say just go for it for right now. There's two different kinds of skills that you have. And I think it usually works where you're doing it in two levels like that, where you go for the ones that are based on your occupation, and then you go for the things that are based on like kind of essentially your hobbies, things that you do outside of work. So I think that makes sense that it's personal interest there.
Yeah, it's like those are like what the charm, persuade, intimidate.
Yeah, and part of that is again kind of going a little bit deeper into your character. Like you're not always just who you are as an employee kind of thing, as an occupation.
Okay, sweet. I got it. I didn't realize I was like supposed to be pumping something else up. So, okay, yeah, I think I'm good to go. I'm on the character control panel now, which looks like where I should be.
Yeah, in like that middle left-hand side of the screen, you should see something that says like grayscale character sheet or color character sheet. I would just save a grayscale character sheet. Have you done that with Declan already?
Yep, all set.
Excellent. So once you open up that character sheet, you can still modify numbers inside of there. It's just not going to change the digital one that you have saved on the whole site. And part of that is because like little things might change during a game, but when you see it in the view of the character sheet, you'll see that the sanity has been added to the top of your character sheet as well. Do you see that with Robert?
No, I don't see where it says sanity. Wait, are you saying if we click on the grayscale thing and go into the one we just saved?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it's right underneath luck.
It just gives you a view that's closer to the actual character sheet than like the formatting that's on D-hole.
Okay, got the character sheet now.
All right, so once you guys open those, you've got a full view of your character sheet now. You should be able to see like up at the top, like my character I've got in front of me is like strength 40, 20 is his half, 8 is his 1/5. And you see like it goes con, dex, intelligence. And then the next row over, you've got size, power, appearance, and education. And then the next row over, you should have your hit points, your magic points, your luck, and your sanity.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got all that.
Excellent. And then all of the skills are down below. You might have some that are different than what they would start out as. A lot of times they'll say, like, intimidate 15%. That means the lowest you can start with is a 15% intimidate. It's just kind of saying what everybody can just kind of do. So you always have some chance to do things, but those are kind of your basic breakdown of how things kind of work. You might have some things that are going to do a test against your strength. Some things are going to do like a library use test. So you just want to kind of be aware of those different things. When you use one of your skills, if you're successful, I'll have you mark the little box to the left of the name. Like if you do a medicine check, and you heal somebody a little bit. you can mark off that little box to the left of medicine. And at the end of a session in a campaign, you then have an opportunity to get better at medicine because you've used it. So that's one of those things where your occupation, your personal skills, and then the way you actually play level up your character, because again, this is a skill-based game. Using skills is what levels you up. But yeah, some things will, you'll get kind of close to things and you can burn a little bit of luck to be successful. So like if your brawl is 25% and you roll a D100 and get a 27, you can burn permanently gone 2 luck points and basically make that a successful brawl test to fight something. And then if you ever made a luck test afterwards, you would not have those points anymore. So like my character has 55 luck. If they ever did something and they need to do a luck test, I just need to roll a D100 and get 55 or lower to be successful. If they need to burn some, the next time I might be rolling for like 52 or lower. Pretty simple. I don't think that's enough to like really confuse, but that's like the simple setup of how Call of Cthulhu works.
No, that's a cool dynamic. So you basically trade your permanent stat for a temporary boost.
Yep. And certain things, almost part of why I don't want to just say like you have had a encounter with like a mythos beast. Certain things that happen, you are going to lose sanity. If you lose enough sanity at one time, you are going to go some form of mad. If you lose enough sanity over time and fast enough, you can go permanently insane. So there's different levels of like, watching somebody get shot in the face. I might have you roll a sanity check. If you succeed by rolling underneath your sanity, you might only lose 1 sanity because it's still insane to watch somebody get shot in the face by a bullet. But if you had an especially good view of it and all of the blood splattered across your face and you fail that sanity check, you might roll a d6 to see how much sanity you lose. You might lose 6 and you might go mad and immediately be basically a bubbling mass of human who can't come out of the fact that they have like brain matter on their face. And that's one of those things about this game. You don't necessarily need to die for your character to just be removed from the game effectively.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
So we've got you guys set up with characters. You've got your backstory as you two are friends from the Miskatonic University. We've got Declan having been a little bit more kind of open to the unexplained and paranormal, finding himself interested in the Society for the Exploration of the Unexplained. And then we've got Robert a little bit more skeptical of such things, never really found an interest in going until having had something come about. You've kind of made your way back into town, knowing that this is kind of like the resource, the place that you could go and maybe tell your story and not simply get laughed away. So you have like that little bit of a reason why you've kind of returned. What we are going to pick up with is going to be the arrival of a letter for Declan. And you'll basically receive this telegram on some level. Let's see, you said I've got it addressed to the university still. I kind of went for the idea of sending it to the society simply because I didn't have you guys with created characters ahead of time. But basically, you guys can see here that you have received a telegram from a certain lawyer who is from Coldwater Falls. Basically, understanding that you have a Uncle Douglas Kimball who has passed away, and this Matthias Arcturus Esquire has found you to be the heir of the late Douglas Kimball, and that you have some things to basically collect as the benefactor of his estate. You have been left a home in the small hamlet of Arnoldsburg, basically just outside of Arkham. We have So just outside of Arkham, let me draw this little line here for Coldwater Falls, where Arcturus's offices are. And I didn't really put it on anywhere, but we'll say somewhere in between here. Maybe we've got Arnoldsburg kind of right between Arkham and Coldwater Falls. And you essentially have received this post that says that you are the benefactor of an uncle that you didn't necessarily know that you had. And you can kind of see from this actual letter that it would appear that they've been searching for you for some time with no clear heirs. It's kind of just like, hey, we finally found you. Come collect your estate. And we will pick up essentially at some point the two of you kind of reuniting with each other. At some point, basically, Declan can kind of invite you along for this road trip, and the two of you can kind of head off and find, like, it might be a night in the country, it might be a week. It's hard to necessarily tell what it will take to clean up his estate. But you can head off for this small little hamlet and find out.
Yeah, I mean, Declan is he's always kind of struggling for money, so he would see this as a kind of a stroke of maybe good fortune. Yeah, and knowing he's met up with Robert in town again, he knows Robert's around and figures, he'll invite him along.
Yeah, that sounds good. Maybe I was out of town for a while, did my whole career, all that stuff. Now I'm just some washed up old fighter, and maybe did a little time, and just came back into town to get back on my feet, trying to steer away from crime, but always down to make a quick buck.
Yeah, and Declan's not much of a fighter himself, so probably an ulterior motive would be kind of having someone around who can deal with because he's probably dealt with in his line of work, dealt with like thieves and things like that. So having somebody around who can watch his back, would be definitely to be something he wants.
So upon arriving in Coldwater Falls, you all can meet up with Matthias Arcturus Esquire, and he'll basically kind of go over with you all. Well, there are certain paperworks that we will need you to sign off on to get the deed moved over into your name. While your uncle was not a wealthy man, he does have the home is fully furnished, and it is certainly in a livable condition. For many people, that is most certainly a wonderful boon in itself. I understand that you may be estranged from your uncle. If you would like, I can take you to the house itself, and we can do a walkthrough before signing the paperwork. Or if you would be most interested, I can certainly have you sign here, give you the address, and send you on your way.
You're right. I didn't know my uncle too well, but well, a house is a house. I've no issue with signing the papers here.
So you can take the next few minutes to go over the paperwork. I don't know much about estate things, but I'm going to say that it's still a sizable amount of paperwork. probably about like 20, 25 or so signatures, while you're just kind of flipping through these little dog-eared pages, and he's going for the main ones that have the main amount of information. And you're basically just signing without necessarily knowing what the paperwork means.
Yeah, he would kind of make a show of trying to read it, but he's not a lawyer, so it's really just for show.
Yeah, over it all. What do we got? I feel like there's probably a reading test that's not library use.
There is actually a law skill.
Yeah, do a law check for me.
Nope, that's over. I only
Yeah,
have
so
5 in law, so
just kind of trying to see like what passes as you're going through. Everything that you see seems up and up, but for what that means, it doesn't necessarily mean much of anything. You're not picking up any language that says, hey, you're handing over all of your assets to this lawyer who's tricking you. So you sign it and get everything set up, and basically the lawyer will kind of share with you all like, you know, did either of you put into drive auto, or both of you kind of keep that at basic?
I increased it a little bit.
No, I'm still at 20.
So, without assuming that you have an actual car, let's kind of assume that maybe you like rented a car for like $5 for the next 2 days or something of that sort. So you can basically, you know, we'll have it as if you're driving to this place and actually have like an automobile to get like there and back. But he basically will share to you like, if you are driving, you should be able to make it off to Arnoldsburg within about 20 or so minutes. It is not terribly difficult to find, but once you do arrive, it does take a little bit more time to find the precise location of Aylesbury Street. It's not terribly easy to find, but I believe without too much difficulty, maybe stop off at a service station and ask one of the locals. Perhaps find somebody on Main Street. You should have no difficulties at all. And he'll kind of like dangle a couple of keys. There's like 4 different keys on a little ring, and hands them off to you and sends you on your way.
Yeah, Declan will take the keys, kind of thank the lawyer for finding him, and yeah, he's eager to get out there.
I assure you it is all in a day's work. Your uncle was wise enough to keep his will in order, even if it was stretching on through time. We do what we can to make sure to satisfy those who are both living and those who have deceased. If you do end up finding yourself with any legal troubles, though, please do not hesitate to contact me in the future, and he'll hand you a card for, what did I say his name was? Matthias Esquire, and just try to get your business in case you ever have the need to fill out a will or any such paperwork.
Yeah, Declan will kind of like take the card between 2 fingers and kind of, do a little kind of, flip with his fingers up by his head and then tuck it into a pocket. And I'll keep that in mind.
So, as far as the travel goes, you guys are kind of just traveling through a little bit of countryside. It's not especially difficult. It's a really nice day for driving. You've got kind of like the sun overhead. Yeah, you would have been driving with the sun behind you to get out to Coldbury or Coldbury Falls. By the time you're driving back towards Arnoldsburg, you're probably now with the sun like kind of above, maybe a little bit still in front of your eyes, but pretty pleasant drive. I believe this is kind of like vaguely hilly country. They're almost like rolling hills coming off of the Appalachian kind of mountain range. So while it's not like flat, it's also not like um, crazy like steep cliffs and things. It's kind of like a beautiful view of the ocean off on your right, and really nice kind of forests all around. The town of Arnoldsburg, kind of small, isolated, not terribly difficult for you all to find the actual um, Aylesbury Lane or Aylesbury Street to turn onto and start heading off for your uncle's place. You're looking for 218 Aylesbury, and while you're kind of driving, you might pass it once before recognizing that you went from like seeing, say, like 168 Aylesbury to getting to a point where you see like 270 Aylesbury. But there's massive amounts of distance between any of these houses on this lane. There's very little out in this area. You can pretty much see at any given time like one, maybe two houses from the road. And you just kind of get to that point where you're like, pretty sure we passed it, turn back around, and the moment you pull off the actual road, it goes from like a gravel road to kind of like a mostly like dirt lane. You can sense pretty quickly here that your uncle probably did not have a car, as there's no like ruts as evidence to like ever driving in like mud, rainy conditions, as this is still kind of like the rainy Northeast. When you get to the house, you will see a relatively well-kept house. The year is 1922. These are wonderful, kind of like colonial style. This is a single-story home with a nice kind of like clay. Oh man, I totally forgot about the bot. I have Sirenscape set up, guys, and I can add sound with the bot. It may be loud. I kind of want you to have the bot adjusted so it is effectively as loud as a player. And I'll adjust volumes with the music that I play. So theoretically, that should not be terribly loud.
No, it's like perfect background where you can hear it. It sets the mood, but it's not interfering.
I don't know if it likes while we're actually talking. It seems to go off when we do. So you kind of come up to this home. Doesn't seem to be set up for anybody who's like driving a car, but you can kind of see like the front entrance is kind of like a corner of this house that is all kind of like a almost like a enclosed porch, and that's where you all will see that kind of first table in the upper right side portion of this house. So when you go up to it, you'll find one of the keys that you have on that ring pretty quickly goes right into the door. You can unlock it, and you see two of those keys are that key. And the other two keys look similar as well. So you can kind of tell that you probably have a set of two keys for both the front door, and then I think it's safe to say a back door as well. But you can open up the door with a little bit of effort. The home itself, not going to smell especially like musky or anything when you first come in, but this front room is a little bit more kind of open air. It's basically like a almost like summer patio or like a second dining room. As you continue into the house, you'll have a door kind of almost at a corner that leads to one bedroom with a fireplace and a small bed. Heading down and through, it looks like I forgot to put a door on the bathroom. That bathroom would have a door on it. And then there are two other bedrooms basically at the front of this house. Another one kind of like is catty corner up to the study, which is like the right side of the house. And then opposite that, you have the other bedroom that's on that left of the entrance hall. You have the main dining room between the kitchen and the study in that lower hand portion of this house. So you guys can take a few moments, like walk in, kind of go through things and notice that there's 3 bedrooms, a bathroom. Like each of the bedrooms has like a little wash basin and like a bedpan to it. So you can kind of see evidence that this place is like built pre having like full plumbing, but it also does now have an actual restroom to it. Walking through, you will see that the study is by far the most complete room of this house. There's a single chair in pretty much each of these rooms. You can kind of tell like pretty quickly, like your uncle didn't have things for having people over. He's got books, and more books inside of the study. There's a bunch of books across the ground all stacked up. But when you head into the house, what kind of thoughts do you all have about when you do first arrive? Say you're arriving around noon after having collected the keys from Matthias Arturis Esquire.
So I'm assuming at some point in time we would have made some small talk along the way, inquiring potentially about like how the uncle died and if you knew much about him.
Yeah, so I think Declan would. Um, he kind of almost completely didn't know this guy existed. Maybe like once he, getting the telegram, maybe it sparked something in his mind that he remembers his father talking about, um, kind of like almost like an estranged brother. Sorry, excuse me, estranged brother from him, and so Declan never really got to know him because there was already kind of that rift. Um, Maybe he'd like heard like, uh, yeah, but he really doesn't know much.
All right. So I think at first I would have been like pretty skeptical. So I think now just kind of rolling up to the house and just seeing it and watching everything so far unfold, I would have been kind of just quiet, letting you take the lead. But at this point in time, I think it's kind of like sitting in, no, I kind of thought this was all going to be a scam. I thought that's why you had me come along with you, but this looks legit. This looks like a nice place.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what I was expecting, but seems seems nice enough. Kind of like as we're first arriving and seeing like it doesn't look like I think Declan was probably expecting it to almost be like maybe half run down and like just a complete mess, but doesn't look that bad.
Yeah, you can
So
tell where. Oh, go ahead.
if I may, one of the things that I want to kind of stress here is part of why I offered the lawyer to come with you was in case you guys arrived at any further questions, like asking about his death. You really have none of that information at this point. So you guys can perhaps go into the effort of searching that out. That's where I would say, you could look around the house for things that might clue you into that. Otherwise, you might go to like the local newspaper here in Arnoldsburg, check with the police, or go to the library.
Yes, I think it's probably the kind of thing that Declan, like, after he was like halfway, after they're halfway, he's like, I probably should have asked like how he died, but he didn't think of it. He was kind of maybe uh, kind of over, excited, like, oh, I'm getting a house, so like that kind of like threw everything else out of his mind, and he didn't think of it until later. But yeah, something he would want to maybe look into, maybe once they've had a chance to inspect the house a bit more.
Yeah, no worries. I was thinking it the whole time. I should have spoke up. We can have a look around and then make our way to town. Try to grab a newspaper, probably some food.
Yeah, a bite to eat would be welcome.
So as we kind of search this place, maybe I guess there wouldn't be like a regular traditional like refrigerator. Is there like icebox refrigerator or something like that?
Yeah, I didn't have anything to do in Icebox, but I feel like that would kind of be the idea. Is I have like that wooden thing in kind of the lower left of the kitchen. I put in as like a pantry. So we kind of have that as like there might be some dry things there, where you might have like some oats, perhaps something like some like flour to make some bread, just kind of some generic like dry stock there. Maybe something like rice, kind of basics. Um, I think yes, there should be an ice box. I have a feeling when you go to open the ice box, let me have you roll a Constitution check here.
For me, go ahead and roll. What is it? Just a D100?
Yeah, for Robert, just roll a D100. And you know what? Assuming Declan is kind of hanging out with you, like as you guys go through the kitchen, let me get a Constitution from Declan as well.
Sure. That is above.
Gotcha. But not nearly as above as Robert just rolled.
83.
Gotcha. So sometimes if you ever roll 96 or above, that's where things become problematic. So when Declan opens the ice box here, you're going to be confronted by like this rotting head that's sitting inside of this. I need you to roll a sanity for me here.
So just another 100?
Yep, another D100, and you want to get below your sanity.
I did not. I am above.
Oh no, my bad. This was not for you. Yeah, so you're good. You just kind of have this moment where like you retch, Robert, and like you see this like head of a cow, and you can see like that it's been sitting here rotting for some time. The smell is horrendous, but you very quickly start to recognize that not only has this thing pretty well fully desiccated, like dried out, it is also pretty well fully rotted away. It's basically like what remains on the bones, and it very quickly tells you like this has been in this icebox for a long time. This is not something that is recently forgotten. This has been forgotten for some time.
And like on the drive up to the house, did we see any signs of like livestock were kept here, like gates or fencing or um, actual animals?
I think overall you would see plenty of signs like that, like livestock in the area. This is more I'm kind of getting at the idea that like this is probably somebody who bought like the head and the tongue, like getting like some of the what's often called like the offals, not because he um is like grotesque, but because those are the cheap cuts. Those are the things that you're not going to pay like an arm and a leg for, and you can still have, you know, tongue is kind of a delicacy, cheek is kind of a delicacy. So, like, I think more or less I'm getting at the idea. Back in the early 1900s, this was one of the nicer things to buy is to get like the head from the butcher.
Gotcha. And what do they call like sweetmeats? Right, that was like the brain.
That sounds about right.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, so it's not that unusual to find it. It's just it's been obviously here a long time and not preserved. Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. The shocking part of this is definitely the actual rot that has gone through. But both of you kind of got past this initial moment of this like horrible stench being let out, and then also recognizing that again, this is entirely normal. It's just been forgotten for, again, I'm going to say this now, like over a year that this thing is sat in here.
Close it up. Close it up. Ugh.
That's the last thing I was expecting in there. I almost lost my lunch.
And I must have been in there for a year or more. Yeah, I'm not sure if we're going to find anything to eat here. Would like to take a look at that study, though.
Seems awfully peculiar if he was living here recently that would just be sitting in there.
Yeah, we'll have to see if we can find out a little bit more. Maybe back in town. Should ask some questions when we had the chance, but didn't think of it.
Yeah, no worries. More questions than answers for now. Let's finish taking a look around.
Wonder if my uncle kept a journal. Maybe we can see when it stopped. Maybe give us some idea.
Well, judging by the look of this place, we could tell where he spent most of his time. And I'll just kind of like point over towards the study.
Man after my own heart.
So while you all are going into the study and you start to look around, there's like a extremely large bookcase that probably has about twice as many books as the other two bookcases. And then a couple of stacks of bookcases around, as well as like a little end table, as well as like a little globe. There's a fireplace on the north side and a large, fluffy, like comfy chair kind of like sat near the fireplace there. While you're going through, you can see that there are different areas of like the bookshelves that seem to have missing books. But many of these shelves, like entire rows, are completely filled in. Um, Kind of giving a little bit more kind of credence to the idea that there are also books stacked up on the ground, like nearly as high as the like back of the chair and whatnot. But kind of going through here, you see just like a pretty nice study filled with books. The table is overturned near like the triple windows on the east side of the room. When you pop in here, is there something in particular that you want to look through for the books, which would almost be like a titled book? You could do a library use. If you're looking to try to find something that might be hidden, you can kind of do spot hidden and look for something that is out of place. And that might be where, like, looking for the journal, because it's not necessarily like a book that belongs in a study in the same way. Like, looking for the journal might be roll a spot hidden. So when you guys head into this room, what are your thoughts as you kind of get this first like lay of the room?
Looks like there was some foul play. And I'll just kind of make my way over towards the overturned desk, maybe look at the window kind of area over there.
Gotcha. Let me get a spot hidden from you. This is where I'm gonna say, because you're kind of like cued into this exact idea, where Dungeons and Dragons has like the advantage system. Call of Cthulhu has a similar thing where you can roll an extra tens die. So the weird aspect of what I'm about to ask you to roll is like 2d10 and then an extra d10. With I don't think Owlbear Rodeo has a way to really recognize that I want you to roll two of them representing the tens, and you can take the lower of those two.
So if I roll a
So
D100 and then a 10 afterwards, and then the 10 can replace.
precisely, that's like exactly what I hope it works out as. Yeah, actually, it should recognize that one.
So it'd be 67 or 62. Is that right?
No, no. If you roll a 67 with the D100, and then the 2 is the third die,
Yeah, that's right.
that would be a 67 or a 27.
Oh, okay. I got you.
and this is for spot hidden. What is your spot hidden percentage?
My spot hidden percentage is 25. Can I use 2 points to make that a pass?
Precisely. That was exactly what I was going to say. If you didn't put anything into it, spot hidden starts at 25. So you can use up 2 points of luck. If you select on your character sheet, you should be able to reduce your current luck down by 2. And then with spot hidden, put a check mark. Ooh, yeah, let's do it, because I don't know if it really matters, but I'm not sure if using luck makes it count. But yeah, put a check mark to the left of spot hidden.
Okay, I'm gonna do it. So I spend my 2 luck points. I check mark the spot hidden, and I'm gonna try to figure out what's going on here with my little bit
So
of criminal background.
you can see like where there's 2 window sills right next to where this desk seems to kind of sit in between them. You can see one that there is a locked drawer underneath the desk, like that this desk has a little pull-out drawer, and there's a little lock on the outside of it. You can see as well that it seems like this little desk has been knocked over and has been broken. And while nothing especially tells you like that it was foul play, it is then that you can notice that one of these windows isn't actually latched shut. That the window itself seems to be basically have been jimmied open, and is closed, but it's not actually locked shut.
Look at that. That's how I would have came in. Might have stumbled in over the desk, shut the window behind him. Looks like somebody was looking for something. And I'm gonna point out the locked door to Declan, and I'm gonna ask him, I don't suppose you got a key for that one.
So Declan he'll take a look at the kind of the set of keys that he got, and um, don't think so, but he'll try it. He'll try the second type of key on this from the keychain.
Yeah, I think the other spot that I forgot to put a door onto this house is actually in the kitchen. Those are meant to basically be like the front door and the back door. So when you go up to this little desk, like these keys are much too large to even be potentials for this desk.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of what I thought. And he probably would have, since when we were in the kitchen before, at some point he probably would have tried that other door and confirmed that the key was to that other door. And he's
So
gonna.
this is one of those places where you could do something like locksmithing, mechanical repair, or just trying to like break the desk open to get into it. Otherwise, you guys can also potentially search other places in the house, hoping to find said key. But at present, you have the lock drawer.
I could try to jimmy it if you don't mind. I've picked a lock or two.
All right, I'm just wondering if if you think you can get in there without damaging whatever's inside. I've got I've tried it a few times myself, but I'm certainly no expert.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Can I kind of look around for something that I could maybe try to jimmy the lock with or do my locksmithing?
Yeah. I'd say finding something in here might be a little bit difficult, but say you've got like a clothes hanger, like a metal clothes hanger from your travel bag, and you kind of like take a little piece of the wire and you can try to manipulate it into that lock. But if you want to do a locksmithing test, you are more than welcome to.
And I think kind of while he's doing that and look for something to use, Declan is gonna start just looking over the bookcases. Wants to see if like the books do they seem to be in any kind of order, either alphabetical or by subject or by just kind of see if there's any sort of rhyme or reason to
I think with that, let me get a locksmith, or not a locksmith, library use. Um, I don't think there's a perception check in the same way. I think library use kind of fits what you're going for. Yeah, I think library use.
All right. Nope. Over.
Gotcha. And it looks like the lockpicking was like in the 90s.
Yeah, I got an 89 for lockpicking. My bad, I forgot to clear my dice. But yeah, it's 89.
All good. Yeah. So I'd say just kind of like manipulating the lock. Like you can't even feel the tumbler inside with that little key, and you just don't even feel like any resistance that's telling you that this is going to help you get that lock opened up. What did you roll for your library use?
78.
And what is your skill in library use?
65.
Gotcha. So looking over things, you can see that there's like a general kind of like setup here in that your uncle was pretty eclectic. There's not like rhyme or reason to seemingly what these books are. You can spot every once in a while that there are some missing, and there's like kind of like movements of dust. But other than that, there seems to be a few books that are missing. You don't really pick up much more about like what his library is all about.
And I failed pretty bad on the locksmithing thing. Mine is 67 and I got 89.
Oh no, that's what I was saying. Like you don't actually even feel the tumbler inside. You never get any tension with that. Like that's not doing anything for you.
Oh, okay. I thought I was like something bad was gonna happen. Oh, sorry, I was just paranoid. Okay, so
No, the bad stuff only happens when you roll 96 or higher on something that you're skilled at, and 100 on things that you're not like skilled at.
okay, I got you. So I failed bad, but not too bad.
Yeah, like I think the reason I made there be something negative about the icebox was because you rolled the 97.
Oh yeah, makes sense, makes sense. So I guess I'll just kind of holler out to Declan. Yeah, I'm not having any luck with this thing, man. I don't want to break it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you trying. If it's still locked, though, at least we know if there was someone who came in, they didn't find it either. Key, that is. Thinking it might still be around here somewhere, but don't know where it might be. We could take a look for it, or suppose maybe.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can hang tight on it for now. We'll see if we happen to stumble upon the key. If not, when we go into town, I could probably pick something up and have a little more luck with that. But this old pesky coat hanger ain't doing much.
So you all are welcome to keep looking through the home to see what you might be able to find. You could like head off and try to meet some of the neighbors who are like sparse but around. You've seen at least a few of the houses along the route to get here. You could do something like going in for research, going to the police station, the library, or to the newspaper in town. What are your current thoughts? You know, again, kind of going with the idea um, you could go into town for food as well as kind of multitasking something else. You could go try to meet some of the neighbors and maybe try to hope for some kindness that somebody might like make a sandwich for you while you chat about your uncle.
yeah. I think Declan's thought is to, we'll go into town. Maybe there's like a diner or something. Or like a coffee shop, something like that. People in small towns, I like to, you know, chat, and maybe we'll, just listen for a bit, and then if they're yeah, maybe after they eat, maybe see if there's like a local newspaper or maybe a library or something. If we actually need to do like kind of more kind of formal research, he does want to kind of before we leave though. He's just gonna take a kind of a wants to go sit in that chair and see if it's actually comfortable and maybe like kind of see if maybe anything's stuck down under the in between the armrest and the cushion.
Gotcha. Do a spot hidden as you kind of sit down into the chair and start to like run your hands in between the cushion and like the armrests, like see if anything kind of fell out of pockets.
Okay, that is a 9. So that is
Gotcha.
below.
Is that inside of your hard success, but above your extreme success?
Yes, it is. Half is the hard, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's above. Yeah, so not an extreme success, but it is a hard success.
Gotcha. So as you kind of like just run your fingers through, you do indeed find a small little brass key that's about the size of your thumb, and very quickly kind of recognize like if there's a key to that little thing, this is probably the size that it would be. You probably just found the key to that.
Huzzah! And he'll kind of lift it up and kind of excitedly to Robert.
You got to be shitting me.
So he will kind of almost he'll get out excitedly of the chair and move over to try the key in the desk.
So just as a reminder, make sure to put a check mark in the spot hidden for yourself. At the end of the session, if this became a campaign, this is the type of thing where you would technically be able to level up your spot hidden. But as you go over to the little end table, you can indeed put the key in with a little bit of effort, kind of turn the lock, opening up the drawer. You find a nicer looking pen, maybe something that's done in kind of like an ivory or like a gem kind of twist. You can see that it has like a little bit more kind of quality to the pen. And then there's just a couple of little like leather portfolios, and you can see like 3 of them are really well worn, and one of them is on top that seems lacking in some of the wear that the others are.
So Declan will kind of he'll take the pen and he's always um, looking for a good pen, but his more of his attention will be drawn to these little leather portfolios. He would probably just look at probably to pick up the top one first and wonder wonder what this is, and he'll open it up.
So you can see pretty quickly the pen is a little fountain pen, maybe a little bit dried up, would need a little bit of cleaning to get back into like a usable state. You can flip through all of the folios and pretty quickly recognize that they are journals based on the year. The one on top that you gave the most interest to is for the year 1921, last year. Each of them tends to have a journal entry starting roughly between like January 1st and like January 3rd. Though last year the first entry was January 5th.
Gotcha. So I think Declan he would kind of once he knows when look flipping through them once he sees what they are, he would try to see what was the last entry or what. Sorry, what part of 1922 are we in?
You guys are like roughly August of 1922.
Yeah, so he'll like wonder where this year's is.
So when you look for the last entry in 1921, this is the page that you find. and you'll see that it appears that your uncle has gone off somewhere, having last filled out his journal some 1 year ago in August.
So Declan will kind of reading that. He'll lift his eyes. He'll show it to Robert. Friends below. He means by that. Meant by that.
I don't know. And the demands of society become too much. What did he do? We need to find out some stuff about this guy.
Agreed. It's not what I was expecting.
Can't play Nefarious Thunderstrikes while we're talking. So it would take you some time to go through the journals and kind of like find out more information from them. But again, it kind of takes you to the idea of you could also spend some time going through these journals.
Yeah, I think having once he kind of finds this last entry and reads the last one, um, he'd think, well, okay, so he talks about this decision. It seems like he's been wrestling it with a while. Perhaps he wrote about it, wrote some more about it. You don't mind, Robert? I think lunch might have to wait.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're onto something here. Who knows what could be waiting?
Yes, he'd like maybe he'd take two of the folios and hand them to Robert, and you know, I'll take these two. You want to take um, these other two, and probably maybe like the 1921 and 1920. Declan will go and he'll give Robert the earlier 2 years to look through. Just let me know if you see anything catches your eye.
Yeah, so I'll be like thumbing through as well, just kind of looking for anything interesting. And I think after a little while goes by, it would start to kind of occur to me that there's something weird not only about that line, but maybe how you said it too. Hey, what'd you mean about my friends below? Does that mean something to you?
So, in the process of doing your research, let me ask you this. Do you want to go backwards in chronology, or are you just going, um, like, how are you trying to do this? Because you immediately flip to the last page to look for his last, like, writing. But would you really hand Robert like 2019 or 1919 instead of giving him 1920?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, that does make more sense. Declan would maybe he'll look through the rest of 1921. Yeah, and that makes more sense. Yeah, to give Robert 1920 rather than yeah.
So let me have each of you roll a luck roll here. And again, this is more at present, like while Robert is still asking that question, you know, about what he means by friends below.
All
I
right.
got 37. That's a pass.
And 66 for me. Also a pass, sorry.
Gotcha. I assume though 37 is a higher margin than your 66.
I passed by 21.
Yep, and that would be 19 for me. So yep, he's higher or higher margin. Yep.
So the next entry that Robert finds is in the 1920 diary, where you can see that Douglas seems to be speaking about going out at night and reading beneath the full moon. That he seems to have started taking to heading off to the cemetery off to the east and spending time apparently reading overnight in the cemetery. And at some point, he met the caretaker, Melodious, and spent some time and enjoyed the company of this man who works at the cemetery.
Seems like we should find this Melodious. If anybody knows what might have my uncle might have been getting up to, he might.
So do I get like the impression at all that he's kind of dodging the question, or
What do you mean? Who's dodging the question?
Oh, but your question about the friends below.
oh yeah. Sorry about that. I kind of like asked that question before if that kind of meant something to him.
I mean, I would imagine not. I don't. Yeah.
In general, I think it's safe for me to say Declan doesn't seem to know who this person is. This is the type of thing where he's almost the benefactor of someone who might have been like a family friend just as much as somebody who is actually like named family. This might be an estranged brother of his father. But I would stick to the idea that like this is more like the oddity of somebody like 2 towns over leaving you a house and finding out that there's some sort of blood between you. But
Okay, I got you.
Declan's not meant to really know who this person is.
That makes sense. Okay, so it's not like he's hiding anything. He just really doesn't know. That's fair enough. Okay, so I guess nothing from here really like jumped out at me. I guess
Yeah,
to
I'm
what you
saying more, this is picking up on the oddity of this is somebody who is reading by the full moon at night. And he's going to a cemetery and he found friendship in a cemetery's caretaker.
right, and then I guess we make the connection that he talks about joining his friends below, and that seems kind of sketchy.
And he also mentioned Dracula. I imagine that's the sort of book that we might be familiar with. Uh, and obviously vampires and nighttime, that kind of. So Declan might actually go and kind of take a pause from reading this and look and see if he can find this copy of Dracula on the bookshelf anywhere.
Roll another library use.
73. It's another fail.
Yeah, looking over things, you don't see a copy of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Are we both allowed to do like a check? Like, could I be scanning for Dracula at the same time, or is it sort of just like one and done?
If you'd like to, you can do a library as well.
I think it's a big library. There's a lot of books. I would help him look for it.
That probably fits underneath a hard success, but but not an extreme, right?
Oh, which thing was that? Was that spot hidden again, or no?
No, that would be under library use.
Oh, library use. Sorry, yeah, you did say that. Library use is exactly 20.
Okay, that's just a normal.
Yeah, it's just a regular pass. That was the absolute minimum I needed to pass.
Looking over things, you're almost positive there is not a copy of Dracula in this library.
Yeah, I don't see it. If it's
This
here,
is this isn't a you wonder if you missed it. This is a I'm almost positive that there is no copy of Dracula in this library.
okay, I'd let Declan know that. If it's here, it's not in this library. I'll tell you that much.
Hmm. All right. Well, and Declan's starting to get a little suspicion about who he thinks might have broken into this study, but he's going to kind of keep things to himself and suggests maybe we should try and go, maybe look through the rest of this, keep going through the journal, but otherwise he thinks maybe if we can see if we can find this Melodious fellow. Seems like a good lead.
So do we pretty well like rifle through the journals? Are we pretty confident with that then?
It really at this point depends. Do you guys want to spend more time looking through the journals, or are you ready to go after Melodious?
I think we got a pretty good lead. I mean, I'm sure we could probably figure out some more small details, but I like the direction we're going in. It seems like we're making some progress. So
I'm just wondering, maybe we should try and find, like, when he first started this weird reading under the moon. He says he once again spent the night reading beneath the full moon. Maybe we can find an entry where he does it the first time. See how long this has been going on.
yeah, that's not a bad idea. We can give it another scan, but I'm getting pretty hungry. Maybe we should head into town and honestly, wouldn't mind maybe trying to spot one of the neighbors or something and see if we can get any info out of them. What happened to your uncle? What kind of guy he was? If he was into weird stuff?
So a little deeper into the journals.
Yeah, I mean, taking Robert's thoughts into consideration, I'll maybe like go through the rest of 1920. If I don't see anything, maybe I'll take if I don't see anything else in 1920, I'll take maybe them with me, but get ready to go if I don't. But I do want to kind of flip through the rest of this one folio.
Gotcha. Well, assuming you guys stick to the ones that you've already kind of been going to, a little bit more time spent in the journal is going to unearth 2 more entries of interest for you guys. Probably next would be inside of the 1921. You'll find August 24th. And among the things of note in this is towards kind of a middle later ground. It sounds like Douglas started to encounter some sort of unknown type of creature, something that seems to be digging tunnels and coming out of one of the mausoleums in the cemetery.
It doesn't make any sense. Digging out? Maybe your uncle was crazy.
And then about the same time as Declan recognizes that journal entry, Robert will find another. Oh, I think that's the wrong one. I think it's the one I already showed you. This one kind of still just kind of fits along this idea. They're kind of out of order about how interesting they might be, but you guys now have kind of a timeline of this one is kind of the first time that Douglas started to read at the cemetery. So you kind of have an idea of like April 20th, 1920 was the first time he found himself reading at the cemetery by moonlight. I think it was then in June of 1920 that he met Melodius while he was reading. And then inside of August, he talks about meeting these creatures. And then August 30th of 1921 is when he says he's made his decision and he might join his friends below.
And that was just a few months before? I mean, this is August, and
This is a year in his life. The journals you were looking at were 1920. So you had April and June of 1920 that he talks about reading by night. So he was reading by night for about a year. Before about a year ago is when his journal entries end. So it's kind of a 2-year time frame between like when you're reading it and when he first started reading by night.
And he's talking about funding a network of tunnels under the mausoleum. Could that be where he found these friends?
I mean, I feel crazy even asking this, but you never heard anything like this. You don't believe this, do you?
I mean, I've heard stories. People make up tales, but not knowing the man, I wouldn't say possibility is just crazy.
I mean, obviously he's crazy. He didn't go live with people underground in a graveyard.
In this 1920 or this August 24th journal, he himself questions his sanity as he kind of finishes it off like, did I dream while I was asleep in the cemetery? Was this all a product of reading Bram Stoker's Dracula?
Yeah, I still think we should go see if we can find this Melodius. Maybe if he met my uh, uncle, perhaps he got some idea about his state of mind. I'd like to talk to him.
Yeah, he's definitely on the list. We should try to find out something about your uncle. Maybe he can clue us in the right direction. Maybe we head into town and see what we see. Have we kind of been through the town yet, or not really?
You would have theoretically had to like drive down Main Street to basically get to Aylesbury Road. In the long run, you would not necessarily had to have stopped for anything. That's why I started you at the house rather than like describe the town. You could go back to town with very little difficulty. That would be a solution to further investigations and solving food. If you went towards the cemetery, you're going to kind of come to the fact that you guys are hungry, but you can actually find Melodius. Um, Whereas if you go into town, it might be entirely possible that you spend time researching, and by the time you come back, Melodius has left the cemetery.
So do we know where the cemetery is? Do we kind of like pass it, or like we have an idea?
It's off to the east of the house. I would say now that you guys understand where it is, it's probably about like a quarter of a mile's walk off to the east. Or you could basically drive and arrive there in probably about the same amount of time.
Well, we saw that cemetery. We could head that way. If anything intrigues us on the way, we see any neighbors out and about, we could always stop.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we find this Melodius. Maybe can't imagine being a caretaker's gets too much chance for interaction. Maybe.
Yeah, and the truth is, if there is something going on here, I don't exactly want to be in town making a stink of things, asking a bunch of questions when we don't even know what we could be getting into.
Yeah, agreed. Why don't we stop by the cemetery first? Maybe we'll get lucky and be able to find him.
Yeah, worst we could do is have a look. It wasn't too far from here. Should we take the car or you want to hoof it?
A bit of a walk might be all right. Clear our heads. Not to take in with that journal.
Yeah, if we leave the car here and go on foot too, if there is any funny business going on, they might still think we're here, so nobody's gonna come looking.
So when you all prepare to head out and you start to leave through the front door, lock up the house again, and start to walk off, you can see that the gates on the east side are kind of like one of the most run down things. So a lot of the cast iron is like broken apart. Some of the actual masonry is kind of crumbled and fallen. There's easily positions where you could almost like walk through this fence with like your arms outstretched. There's not a lot of these occasions where the fence has failed, but in the spots where it has, it's failed pretty miserably. So you're not like in a fenced in yard, but you can quickly walk into this kind of open lot and start to head through. Let me have the two of you roll a luck roll.
25 for me.
94, that is a fail.
Gotcha. So overall, you don't find like a lot of berries, but while you are walking through this open lot, um, Declan does find plenty of berries where you can stop for a few moments and at least satiate a little bit of your hunger. Um, but yeah, you're not going to find like a plethora where you guys could like make a pie, but you could certainly snack on some of these like wild blackberries while you kind of cross this area.
Yeah, Declan would grab a couple handfuls and just have a snack a bit.
So while you all kind of like have this little moment, you enjoy a little bit of these wild berries. You kind of finish this walk. Is only about 10 or so minutes across this like open lot as you cross this like quarter mile or so before you get to this small aged cemetery. There's no actual like main building to offset this. It was never like the graveyard of a church. It's simply just a plot of land where there are indeed a few gravestones, there's a few mausoleums, but more or less it's just a few old burial plots. But you can spot pretty quickly that there is an older gentleman, dark skin, who's kind of, oh, that's a tiny little counter. Um, just kind of like going about some of the mausoleums. He's got a little like scythe in his hand, and he's just kind of trimming up some of the grass. And around when you guys are kind of walking up to like a break in the actual stone wall, he just has a little sharpening stone and he's just sliding it across the inside of the Sith as he resharpens this little tool and kind of looking up to you guys. He'll just slide the tool like into his belt, pulling a little bit of a handkerchief, kind of dabs the sweat off of his brow, and he'll kind of raise his hand to you and wave off to you all like a little welcome. Um, Not necessarily beckoning you guys over, but upon recognizing you all, he does kind of, you know, show a sign of respect and just kind of like acknowledging you.
Looks like that could be uh, at least our guy, if not, at least point us in the right direction.
Yeah, looks like he might be the fellow. And Declan will kind of like return the nod and turn to Robert and see if we can talk to him. Maybe don't mention he's my uncle.
Yeah, maybe keep the crazy talk to a minimum as well. So I think we'll start heading over there.
So when the two of you all approach, you can see that this man is busy about his actual work. I'm curious about how you would like to approach him. I need you to make an initial either persuasion or an initial charm test to see if he's going to give you the time of day at all.
I want to go the charm route if I could.
I think Declan he's got this idea. Maybe he wants to maybe. So I guess it'd be more almost deception, but he's thinking like like he's got something like official or business to talk to this guy about, like to try to maybe persuade him that this is important.
At first here, this is going to be one test. So you guys can decide this between yourselves as you're approaching. Normally, to go for something that is essentially a lie, that's going to look at your fast talk. But again, like this initial test, this is just to approach him to see if you kind of like get the time to even start talking to this man. And this one is just an initial, it's either going to be a charm or a persuade. It's basically going to be about what the first thing you say to this man ends up being.
Okay, I got
Gotcha.
you. So you want to take the lead on this, or you want me to?
No, you have the idea to maybe try and be charming. So go ahead. I'll kind of let you. You're a bit more of a people person.
Yeah, he looks like my kind of guy, hardworking.
So you're going to go for a charm. And what are you thinking?
Oh, sorry, I rolled. I'm thinking we'll just go for like the initial approach and just kind of be straight up with him, but keep it to a minimum. Just like the kind of vagary, like, hey, looking to ask some questions. You look like a busy man. We don't want to take too much time out of your day, but we'll make it worth your while. And maybe I could like flash him if I have a little bit of money or something. You know,
Gotcha. And what is your charm skill?
my charm is 60, so I got a 58, so I beat it. Or I'm under it.
I appreciate the moment to take a second to myself and enjoy a little bit of a breath. I'm not one opposed to a bit of good conversation. If you deem it's worth a little tip, can't say I wouldn't appreciate it, but it's not required of you. And he'll reach out one of his hands. It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Melodious Jefferson.
Of course. Pleasure to meet you, Melodious. And I'll just kind of like give a little eye to Robert, or to, sorry, I will give a little eye to Declan, and then I'll introduce myself. I'm Robert. That's my buddy Declan.
Pleased to make your acquaintance, Melodious. You work this whole place yourself?
I do indeed. I'm out here 4 days a week to take care of everything. It's a honorable bit of work. It's hard work, and you can see like he's an older gentleman, probably in his like late 50s, early 60s. Um, but it's also probably kept him a little bit younger, doing very physical work than what his age, what his graying hair might kind of pass by.
Gets you out in the fresh air at least, and can't imagine it's uh, too Nice and quiet out here. I can't imagine there's too much excitement.
Thankfully, it is indeed nice and quiet most of the time. I've not seen you two gentlemen previously. Are you new to Arnold'sburg?
Just sort of passing through, I guess you could say. We're not from around here. Not too bad, though. Who knows? Might end up, and I'll look over again, making a home here.
And what brings you to the cemetery this day? Do you have relatives who have passed and are buried here? What were your names?
I'm Declan. This is Robert, and he'll kind of Declan will kind of give Robert almost a little side eye, like we just introduced us, right? But he'll like, well, like as a friend here said, we're mostly passing through, but this seems like a nice little town. If we were looking to settle down, just trying to get a sense of the area.
My apologies. I did not catch that you already introduced yourselves. It's my fault.
Oh, okay, no worries. Okay, I just want to make okay, gotcha.
We were hoping to maybe pay our respects. Not sure if we're in the right place though.
Does that mean you do indeed have family from town? It's a small community here. I would normally say that I know everybody who would be buried here.
Well,
Where you go, it's your family.
never met the man myself, but my father back in Boston, he did mention he had a friend out this way. What was his name? Kendall, Kimball, something like that.
Douglas Kimball. He was a quite friendly fella. He made a habit of visiting me pretty regularly here.
Oh, you knew him.
We became quite friendly before he seemed to disappear overnight.
Disappeared. When did that happen?
I reckon it was late in the summer of 2020, 1921. Probably about a year ago now, back. And I'll kind of like look over to like one of the like lower like graves, and he just kind of points to it for a moment, and they used to sit and spend nights reading away, just on that little stoop right there. Might be able to look at it still and see the signs of his butt having carved his own little stool.
And he just. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Robert.
You said you spent a lot of time here? Reading, man. You became good friends with him. Hadn't seen him for a year. When he disappeared, was there a body or anything?
I don't recollect ever hearing anything about when everyone decided that he was gone. He's he wasn't much for people. You see, I think he made a special case for me. I think he enjoyed the cemetery so much. Well, our conversations were sporadic. I didn't bother him so much as I think he just enjoyed it sometimes. I think it changed how he looked at people. I would go about my business, and he would read in through the morning. And we would have conversations across an hour or two hours, saying a little more than 10, 20 words together. And over months, I think that does count as a friendship.
Was there a particular stone he was visiting or someone he was coming here to see, or he just enjoyed the ambiance of it all?
So again, he'll point over towards that same stone he already brought up. Like, that's the stone he sat on. He would always sit on that stone. I don't believe that he had any relatives who were actually buried here in the cemetery. It just so happened that that one was about the height of his legs, and it was easy enough to sit on. And probably the way that the moon passed overhead, it gave him light to read through the night.
I'll kind of just mosey on over there and have a look if you don't mind.
Oh no, you're welcome to. Most of this cemetery at this point is those who passed during the Civil War, and many of them are 2 or 3 generations gone. Very few people are remembered now by the living. It is actually a blessing to have any folk come here to look them over. Like if you were to go over to that little cemetery, that little grave spot, you might find somebody's name like um, Andrew like Ashbury, and see like 1866, um, perhaps like mentioned as kind of a survivor of the Great War, having never got over his injuries from Gettysburg.
So yeah, so Declan actually wants to actually kind of try and like put himself in his uncle's shoes and like kind of take a seat where he thinks he would have sat and almost like look out and kind of see like what his uncle might have been looking at if he was sitting here, and if anything jumps out, like is there a particular mausoleum that's kind of right there in direct line of sight or anything like that?
Well, he would often sit on this one, and though I'm not one to say that he would look up from his books very often, this mausoleum here would be to his right. And then, somewhat blocked by some of the other stonework, you'd have that other mausoleum that was close in front of him. And perhaps then the last of those that are easily viewable from that seat would be off here, the one that I was just working on trimming the hedge on.
And do you ever see him go inside?
Oh, no, no. Most of these mausoleums are purely for the family to go into. There's an occasion for me to head inside of them to clean out anything that might be left behind by the family. But again, most people don't visit these families anymore. There's not really anyone who comes and leaves flowers behind these days. I don't recollect the last time I had to do any service work within them.
You think? Do you mind terribly if? Sorry, I must admit I'm a bit curious. Take a quick peek.
I understand that you might be curious about your uncle, but I Can't be letting people go in and desecrate the graves of those who are interned here. Most apologetic. I don't mind saying I enjoy recollecting Douglas Kimball. He was a pleasure to have met, and I enjoyed his conversation and the things he shared with me, but I can't let anyone inside of any of these mausoleums.
Oh, of course, of course. I shouldn't have even brought it up. I wouldn't want to get you in trouble, anything like that. Like I said, just curious. And I'll kind of glance to Robert.
Hey, I don't mean to pry or anything, but you live on grounds?
No, I live back in town. I'm just off of Main Street.
Is there a diner or something? A little place we could get something to eat? We're starved.
There's a little cafe as well as a diner in town. I think either are perfectly acceptable. I do enjoy the bites that are offered, but I kind of looks up to the sky and like where the sun's off in the horizon. I still have a few hours myself of work to do here this evening.
You sure you don't want to join us?
Much obliged, Sir Robert, but I will have to pass.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
We'll let you get back to your work then. You wouldn't mind if we, came and talk to you again maybe sometime. It's uncle, friend of my father seems like a interesting sort. So, but yeah, for now, like I said, we'll leave you to your work, and then I'll look to Robert and let's get that try out that cafe.
I work 4 days a week. If you come out here, I'll be out tomorrow, and I take Wednesdays off. Sometimes I'll work a half day, but that's only when the rains are worst in the early week. And I'll be back out Thursday and Friday as well. If you all would like to visit me, I'd be more obliged. And if you'd like to have lunch, we could have lunch out here in the cemetery or off in the fields if you would so choose. Just maybe bring some sandwiches for us, but I can't be leaving for a long stay. Let me have both of you roll a spot hidden check, please.
Uh, 53. That's a fail for me.
Gotcha. I would guess the 71 is a fail for Robert as well.
Sorry, I didn't have my thing pressed down.
Oh, that's a 14. Oh wait. Did you clear yours first? Is that a 71 or a 14?
Yeah, no, sorry. I talked that whole time and didn't have it pressed down. I rolled a 71. My thing is 70. My spot hidden. Or wait, is spot hidden the very last one? Oh no, my spot hidden's 25. Sorry. Yeah, so it's definitely a failure.
Gotcha. So not necessarily trying to push you guys into doing this now. But one thing I did forget to actually update you on the idea of how Call of Cthulhu works is you can push a roll. And part of what that kind of does is it gives you a chance to roll again, kind of like Lucky, where you have to take this next roll. The difference is it basically creates a dire circumstance. So it's the type of thing like if something's happening, you can tell me like why you might be able to push some such roll. And if you do a push roll and you still fail, instead of say having like nothing happens, it's the type of thing where all of a sudden something very bad happens to you. So again, not meaning to put it here, as this was just like a random occasion. He basically says goodbye to you all, after giving you his schedule, picks up his Sith again, and you see as he returns to that mausoleum and just starts to, again, like hand trimming around the grass around the edge.
Yeah, so Declan would be ready to head back to grab the car so we can drive into town, and kind of once we're safely away, Declan's gonna say to Robert like I think we should come back once old Melodius is finished his day's work and poke around a bit.
Yeah, we could have some lunch and look through those journals. Might be onto something. I half thought they were going to be full of BS. The fact that we came here and found Melodius right off the bat, and I don't know. I just wasn't expecting that.
I mean, at the very least, imagine the society would get a kick out of him. But yeah, for now, lunch.
So you all can head off and drive into town. Um, Let me have you each choose either an appearance test or a credit rating test and roll for that. And let me know if you have a success.
Just with no context, just pick one of those two.
Yeah, at present, this is just kind of like while you guys are driving down the road, you're gonna see like a little old lady who's kind of like walking along the road. But again, like, let me just have you make this test and let me know if there was a success.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I failed an appearance test.
I
Not
rolled.
actually.
I
I'm
rolled
sorry.
for credit. I don't know what I needed to pass or fail, but I got a 14.
What is your credit rating? I think yours is probably potentially a fail up to potentially a success.
Oh, I don't know. Is that one of our stats on here?
It's under Klein.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see it. Yeah, I got a 9 on credit rating.
Gotcha. So it is still a fail. So yeah, as you basically drive by this little old lady, the two of you are just kind of rolling down in this car, and you just kind of like pass her on the road, not necessarily going fast. And by the time you like stop to think, oh, that might be one of his neighbors, you kind of look behind, and this person's nowhere to be found. Like, you just saw her moments ago, and she just seems to have kind of like slinked off into the bushes or what have you, and head back on your road on your way into town. From Melodius, you basically hear of a diner or a little cafe. Diner is a little bit more food oriented. Cafe is a little bit more situated for like sitting over a cup of coffee. Either one you can get a sandwich at. Better hot meal at the diner. But basically, it's up to your choices here. Little bit more money to go to the cafe, a little bit more time, like that you can spend by going to the cafe. But it's up to you guys, like where you go in town.
I mean, Declan's kind of curious if we like go get a maybe sandwich and a cup of coffee at the cafe, and just sort of kind of linger and listen and just kind of see if we can pick up any, town chatter, if it, uh, just the locals.
Yeah, I think I'd be mostly focused on food and just kind of digging back into those journals, see if we could find anything else relevant.
Gotcha. So the two of you can sit down at the cafe, have a like little cold sandwich if you wanted. They might have like a little bit of soup. Basically, those will be the two ideas like that you could choose for a bite to eat. You might have a bit of coffee. You might have a bit of tea. But overall, you're going to hear very little of kind of interest to you guys about this town. The people who are here talking don't sound especially interesting. And it's just going to kind of come back to you've already seemingly found what can be found in those journals. At this point, you're back to you can head to the police station, find out what the police had in him going missing, if they have any information. You could look at the library to try to see if they have any records, the newspaper, or yeah, I feel like that's kind of it. Going back to look for the like trying to talk to any neighbors, or trying to search through the house. In town, library, newspaper, or police.
Yeah, Declan's thinking maybe the library. He doesn't want to go asking questions of the police too directly because he thinks that might get some questions asked to them that maybe we don't answer right now. Oh, but he also wants to see if they kind of while they're going through town, if they pass like a hardware store, he'd be able to pick up like a flashlight or maybe like a hardware store or general store, something like that.
Don't see any reason why not. But I will have to grab a price for you. It just may take me a moment. What is your idea for your next kind of well, what are you guys planning on doing next besides going to the hardware store? What are you thinking?
Declan's thinking the library, but let's see what Robert's thoughts are.
Library sounds good. I always prefer to avoid the cops.
Nice. 65 cents for lunch is what I should charge you guys. And at the hardware store, you could find searchlight sounds really big. A searchlight for $6, gasoline lantern for $6.59, kerosene lantern for $1.39. I'm not sure what a dark lantern is. Or an electric torch is. Let's go for the $2 side, with 60 cents in batteries.
Yeah, I guess like the electric torch. It's kind of like a
Yeah, so $2.60 for one set of batteries. If you wanted to buy some more batteries than that, it's another 60 cents.
yeah. He'd buy one. I think he'd buy one backup set of batteries.
While at the hardware store, is there anything else that Richard needs to purchase? Robert?
I don't know. Is there any reason to get a second light? Any kind of tools or anything? I'm assuming we have like pretty minimal stuff on us right now.
Yeah, more than likely, it's essentially the kind of thing where, you're walking around in like maybe like a sport coat kind of thing. Um, might have like kind of like toothpick and a wallet type of thing. You're not necessarily passing. You might have like a piece of paper and like a pencil, but in general, you're not really carrying stuff around.
What about like a pry bar or something like that? I know it looks suspicious, but picking up something like that might be useful. Can I get like a crowbar or something along those lines?
You can get a crowbar for 225.
All right, I'll pick one of those up.
So you all can pick up your tools from the hardware shop and head off to the library. You're probably looking at like a little later in the afternoon. Um, Maybe see on like the on the courthouse, like it's like 2:30 in the afternoon here.
Gotcha. So yeah, Declan will oh maybe put the put the crowbar in the in the car, carry it into the library. But
Yeah, you could leave the flashlight crowbar behind in the car.
yeah, and then yeah, and yeah, and I guess Declan's ready to head inside if the library's open.
So when you all head into the library, there is a librarian, maybe like mid 40s or so, behind the front desk. Uh, you kind of see like a little bit of like a welcoming. If you head towards her in a soft voice, she'll kind of offer, if you, or like, welcome to the Arnsberg Library. If you all require any assistance, please don't hesitate to ask. My name's Peggy, but otherwise you are welcome to search through. Please keep any conversation to as low as a possibility, and the library will be closing about 4:30 this afternoon.
Well, thank you, Peggy. Um, I've always been meaning to read it. I've never had the chance. For some reason, it's just kind of on my mind. You have a copy of that Bram Stoker novel, Dracula, I think it's called.
Do a uh, do a luck with like the double tens dice.
No,
And you just take the lowest.
so it'd be 23. So it's pass.
We do indeed have a copy of it. If you follow me, and she'll like walk you down into fiction. You'll see as she kind of like looks over the Dewey Decimal numbers, like on the ends of the actual library shelves. She walks up, and within a few moments of kind of pointing her finger out as if she's actually looking at the bindings of these copies, she just takes a moment to kind of reach out, pulls out this copy, and she'll hand you the copy of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Declan will he'll kind of give a nod of thanks, and I know some people say it's a little dark, not everybody's cup of tea, but I don't know. I like reading about some of this stuff. Say a popular one here at the library. Sorry, he's essentially trying to be like pretend like he's making small talk, but trying to kind of coyly kind of ask, um, you know, I don't know exactly what he's trying to do, but essentially, he's just thinking, okay, my uncle liked Dracula. Maybe if he mentions that he likes this stuff, if anybody in town, Peggy in town, if he ever came to the library, probably not because he has so many books at home. But that's I don't know, just kind of my thought process there.
She might recall some of the like last times people have taken out the book. you can flip over to the front page where they have that little piece of paper where everybody basically fills out like last name and the date that they took it and the date that they bring it back. And you can see your uncle has never taken this book out.
Okay, gotcha.
Do you actually ask about your uncle by name?
I think he's going to add, like, I think he's actually he's going to mention that he's going to say that he's actually deals in books himself, and somebody had kind of told him about this place here in town that kind of a house that had a nice kind of little private library that he's come here to check out. And then yeah, he'll mention the name. He's not going to mention that he was his uncle, but he's going to, he will mention Douglas Kimball's name. Do you know the fella? Kind of not mentioning that he's kind of already been there either to the house.
Roll a luck.
Ooh, no, that's an 89. So it's a fail.
I'm not terribly familiar with anybody by that name or description. I really don't know too many of the folks here other than those who are regular patrons of the library itself. I'm very sorry that I cannot help you.
Oh, not a problem, not a problem. We have you have a research room. You keep copies of the papers, archives, things like that.
She can point you like basically to kind of like a stair that leads down to the basement, and describe to you where you can search through the like newspaper clippings, and you can start to go through their local Arnoldsburg advertiser, and look through those clippings. When you are ready, let me get a library use by you.
Let's see, 36. That is a pass, but just a regular.
So as you are going through the advertiser, you do eventually come upon this article that is separated, and seems to discuss the cemetery on. I don't think I actually put the address in here, but effectively it talks about the cemetery off Arlesborough, um, Aylesbury Lane. And you kind of recognize like this might be relatively the same. And it seems to talk about someone who saw naked people who seem to be kind of like dancing or going about things inside of the cemetery.
Yeah, so that would definitely draw his attention, and he'd like kind of be looking to Robert and wonder why Melodius never mentioned this. He said nothing much interest happened out there.
Yeah,
Sounds
that does seem awfully strange. There's no name listed for the witness. Maybe we do need to go down to the police station and see who filed the report.
I'm just a little worried they're gonna wonder why we're asking about it.
Yeah, it's true. There's an awful lot here. There's one thing I've learned, it's when this much stuff lines up, it's not a coincidence. There's something going on here.
I'm thinking we just kind of, like I said, we wait for old Melodius to finish his work, go home for the night, take a little look ourselves. We don't find anything, get stuck in a dead end. We go see the police, but I'd like to maybe just take a look around myself first.
Hey, I'm all for putting it off as long as we can. What time of day is it, like roughly now?
Probably spend another hour or so in the library. You're probably looking at about like 3:30 or so when you head out of the library at this point.
And what was the time frame of this newspaper? Like if I look at the date of the paper, um, and compare it to kind of the entries we found in the journals.
I'd say put this. Let's go for 1921, maybe like early in the year.
Gotcha. I mean, yeah, I don't need an exact date. Just kind of curious if this is like really recently or you know. Um, so yeah.
So do you want to try to like see if we can spot a neighbor on the way back or something like that? I mean, it sounds like we pretty much got to kill some time until dark. So maybe we could try to spot a neighbor and then possibly look around the house more. I'm not sure how thorough we like searched it.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to use kind of the rest of the day. Yeah, maybe see if we can find a neighbor.
Yeah, so like you guys could go to the police station. Sounds like you don't want to because you don't want to bring up the wrong things. You could go to the actual newspaper and try to talk to these people and request like why this person isn't actually given a name. You could head home, potentially try to find a neighbor. Otherwise, yeah, you're kind of looking at the house as well, but more or less kind of waiting towards the evening when Melodius will not be at the cemetery.
And is there a name attached to, like, is there a byline, or is this just like a with this particular uh, issue of the paper, or um, the same names keep popping up, or is it kind of just like a
Uh, Byline is like the author for the newspaper. That's my bad for like just being kind of really out of newspaper speak.
yeah, like I mean, this doesn't look like a full story, so it's not like it would have like written by, but almost like the kind of like editor or like the newspaper staff, or is it?
Yeah, let's go for Artie Malloy from the Arnoldsburg Observer. Or wait, not Observer, Arnoldsburg Advertiser. But Artie Malloy.
Yeah, so we'll kind of just kind of note the name, like maybe that's someone we could talk to also if we don't have any luck. But otherwise, he's thinking Robert's idea is probably the best one to go with now.
My bad. I got distracted there. What are you looking to do as the next step?
So I think Robert, you can head back towards the house. Maybe see if we can maybe try and find a neighbor, and also maybe spend a little more time in the house itself, looking around and kind of waiting for nightfall and when we think Melodius might be gone.
It'd probably be too late to catch the paper still open, I would imagine, right?
You're certainly approaching where the paper would be closing. But theoretically, you've got about an hour and a half. It's a small town. You're talking pretty much the entire hamlet exists within like 2 blocks of Main Street and like the county courthouse kind of thing.
I mean, if we wanted to, now's the time. We can always wait till tomorrow, but maybe it's worth a shot.
Maybe you're right. I mean, we are here.
Yeah, all right. Let's try to get the paper while they're still open.
Yeah, sounds good.
So yeah, when you all walk into the newspaper, you'll hear like the actual sounds of machines in the back, like running. You'll see the man who comes forward is kind of a heavy set guy, wearing a big suit. He's got a chain of his watch. And like the moment you guys walk in, you see as he kind of like pulls out his watch, takes a look at it, and kind of drops it back into his little vest pocket, and kind of looks to you all. Welcome to the Arnsberg Advertiser. We've got the paper already running. Were you all looking to get a last minute in?
We're actually hoping to catch Artie if he's still around.
Artie Malloy at your service. Oh, what can I do for you, gentlemen?
We don't want to take up too much of your valuable time, but hoping we can ask you a couple questions. Read a little bit of your work.
Roll a charm for me here.
27.
That's a success.
That is actually a middle success.
All right, excellent. The hard success. I appreciate anyone who recognize the skill and the art of what we do here, and I appreciate you recognizing my work for its greatness. And what can I do you service on? What article in particular are you thinking of?
This most certainly is art, indeed, Artie. We stumbled upon something and just wondering if it was common occurrence or if there was similar sort of strange things going on over at the cemetery.
You all are reporting on our article some years back about the nudist folk who had started to take to the cemetery.
That was the one that caught our attention.
Well, first off, let me tell you, Miss Hilda Ward was indeed found to be a incredulous witness. It was a little more than we could do to run the article as it was without citing her name. I can tell you that offhand, but what, pray tell, are your further questions that you would like to ask? I remember it enough, or I could send you to the paper's morgue and you could take a look for yourselves to see what we have to remain.
Well, that if I recall, that the article did mention that the constable they sent out found some footsteps. You don't happen to remember who the unlucky fellow had to go out and check out this Miss Hilda Ward's claims, do you? No, it was a bit of a while ago, but
I do not believe the police ever gave me any reference as to who it was who searched, only that they found nothing to say that anybody had actually come through that place, other than the likeliness that it was a shepherd who had gone through with some amount of animals and there was no reason to assume that humans had been in such a place. Again, Miss Ward is little believable. I would say in general she was little more than a rabble rouser.
This Miss Ward, not that we don't believe you, but she's still around?
Any information that we would have from the story would have to be in the morgue. You can roll a library use, and the two of you can do that instead of giving you like advantage roll. I'll let both of you try it and see what you can find.
All right. 67. That's another fail.
Assuming 81 is a fail as well. I'm very sorry if you can't find it. We may have.
You know what?
What were you saying?
I think I actually. No, we'll go with the 67. I may have knocked it with my hand incidentally. I thought maybe I misread it as a 7 instead of a 1, but no. I think I probably just hit it with my hand. So yeah, go with 67.
We may have since thrown away any of the notes that we had about the actual article. I must apologize. We don't necessarily save things from the editorial section for terribly long. There's very little of interest in those, as we don't necessarily collect anything that needs to be kept for tax purposes. My apologies. If you were interested in any more information, you might try the library and see what they keep on file.
So, no, I appreciate your time, Marty. But before we let you get back to it, any just between us, any other stories kind of like that didn't quite make the papers? Imagine a fellow like you would be the, know all sorts of things that don't get published.
Our hamlet is a quiet enough place here. We don't tend to have anything of too much interest for anything peculiar inside of the papers. Most everything that we do ends up being the sale of different foodstuffs, some industrial things for the purpose of farming, and on occasional we have some other things left for sale, but by and large, the editorial position of our paper is quite minimal.
All right, all right. Well, Robert, unless you got any more questions for Artie, I imagine we've taken up enough of his time.
I couldn't agree more. Appreciate the help you've been, Artie.
So you all can head out of the advertiser. You are kind of approaching that end of the day where you could basically kind of head back to the Kimball house and do any more searching inside of the house. You could go to the graveyard and see if Melodious has left work, or you could basically kind of like move on through your evening and do one such thing as like, do you kind of camp out at the graveyard and see if you notice something happen? Do you camp out at the house trying to notice if somebody breaks in? But you're kind of at that point of like what you would like to do for the next step here.
Yeah, Declan is thinking maybe we go back to the house. He wants to be a little extra careful to make sure Melodious is kind of left. So he's thinking maybe wait till like full nightfall before we would think about going back to the cemetery. But he thinks Robert's got a good idea, and maybe we could spend some more time just kind of looking through the house, the rest of it.
Did we notice if there was a car or anything that it looked like Melodious takes to and from work or anything like that?
There was no car in the graveyard. There wasn't really any driveway or anything either. More or less just like pulling off the road when you get to the graveyard.
And did it seem like we had walked there, obviously? Did it seem like there's somewhere where we could kind of approach but keep a distance without being like obviously spotted around dusk?
Yeah, overall, like there's a pretty like open lot kind of between like your fence at the Kimball house and where the cemetery starts. So there's plenty of like wild grass as well as actual trees there. It would not be difficult for you to kind of like stop in the middle and just like wait to see if there's activity in the graveyard before going forward.
Yeah, I say we go hit the home base. We can do another little quick rifling around and see if we find anything, and then go just kind of, I mean, I guess maybe just camp out, really. Just go out there expecting that we're going to be out there for the better part of the night, if not all night.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan to Declan.
Gotcha. So again, you guys have given me kind of a vague idea that you keep saying, like, we could continue to look through the house, or we could do this. The house is pretty much something you've already gone through. So do you want to camp out the graveyard? Do you want to go to the graveyard? Do you want to camp out the house? Like basically like
Oh, my bad. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm thinking camp out the graveyard for sure. The only reason I was really referencing the house was more like killing time and getting rid of the car.
yeah, I mean that's perfectly acceptable. Going to the house to drop off the car, but more or less at this point, we're about to fast forward to whatever you go to. One of the things to keep in mind is like finding the journal skips over most everything. Recognizing that Kimball did something at the graveyard, and besides that, recognizing that he says, "My friend's below ground." That is one of those things where finding the journal bypasses this entire thing. Every other clue that you find tells you to go to the graveyard. So that's one of those things like to keep in mind here is you can take the car back to the house, drop that off, and you could basically make your way back to kind of watch over the graveyard, or you could go into the graveyard and start to explore. Melodious is not going to be there. Or you could go back to the house, drop off the car, and kind of watch over the house and make sure nobody breaks in again. But essentially, at this point, those are kind of the three things that you have as kind of like a next step to go for.
I mean, I'm thinking the goal is go to the graveyard and look around, if that's what you're thinking.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, graveyard. Yeah, yeah, sounds good.
Gotcha. So you can head back to the grave or to the Douglas house, to the Kimball house, park the car, walk through the trees, and kind of like with a little bit of an overwatch position, be able to see that Melodious has indeed left behind. And you can basically see like the northern set of this area that really shows you like these are the three mausoleums that Melodious kind of said might have been of interest to Douglas. And this is the stone that he sat on between those three. And it's kind of up to you guys what you would like to do here. You could go ahead and try to do something like a spot hidden to see what you can kind of figure out. Um, yeah, I kind of feel like that kind of puts it to you could spot hidden, or you could simply start going to the mausoleums and like basically breaking them open with the crowbar.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like from what we read in the journal that the tunnels were beneath the mausoleum. Maybe found an entrance inside one. So that would be Declan's first thought is let's see if we can kind of get inside one of these and take a look around.
Yeah, so could we try to spot hidden and see if one of them looks like, it's been entered more recently, and then potentially try to, break in?
Yeah, so spot hidden or track. And you can basically look like from Douglas's favorite gravestone, try to figure out like what you can figure out about the tracks in the area.
58. That is a fail for me.
Yeah, 52 for spot hidden. That is also a fail. But I don't know. I feel like maybe I should just go ahead and burn. I don't know. Is there a limit to how much luck you can burn?
I've seen before where it is limited, but how much are you thinking?
It would take me 12 to essentially turn that into a pass.
I feel like the limit is normally 15, but I feel like that's one of those kind of soft rules in the game. I would say if you wanted to burn 12, you certainly can, but to recognize, like, if you do that, it's gone forever, versus you could push the roll, where, this might be the type of thing where, you spend a little bit more time searching, and if you push this roll, that, like, round of batteries is going to wear out, and you'll be on your last set of batteries. It could be that type of thing. So keep in mind, like, you could either push it, and you can describe, like, this is where your creativity as well can determine a lot of the push. Or you could burn luck.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe I'll go with the push option.
Gotcha. And what makes you capable of pushing this? What are you thinking for your push?
Um, so that a great idea of exactly how that kind of the push works. I don't know. Maybe Declan. He's a reader. Maybe I don't know. Maybe this kind of he's looking at checking out these mausoleums, and something's coming back to him about, I don't know, like a story he read or something that kind of was um not similar, but it's almost like you read enough spy novels and suddenly you think spycraft kind of thing. um and maybe there's just something that he is coming back to his mind that he's or trying to
It's
recall.
just as much about describing the cost that you're going to pay as not. Like your book research, what's it going to cost you if you fail? That's part of the push just as much. That's why I say, like, maybe spending time, like more time searching closer, like that push is related to the battery life of your torch. So if it's like looking to your knowledge of books, how can that be something that is lost if you fail the push?
Gotcha. Okay, like I said, I don't know the push mechanic, so it makes more sense to go with that battery idea.
Gotcha. Because that's one of the things. It's basically turning it into something that can tangibly go wrong, um, for push mechanics. So there's probably something there somewhere. But it's also the type of thing, maybe like book knowledge is a little bit more about, like, pushing something with the librarian, where maybe you're going to bet her a rare book that you own, and you'll owe her a rare book, rather than in this scenario where, gravestones don't care about your books. So
Gotcha.
let me get
Yeah.
another spot hidden from you. And this one cannot be modified by luck. You have to take it how it's rolled. If it's successful, you're good. If it's failed, we'll see.
All right, and that is an 11, which is a hard success.
Gotcha. Hard success. So you can see that, like, beneath a lot of the grass that's kind of overgrown in this area, there are indeed positions where you can see, there's heavier traffic on kind of the north side of this cemetery. A lot of that traffic seems to be leading to the mausoleum that is on the north side of the cemetery, the one that would be kind of over and to the right of Douglas as he sits on his cemetery. It's the mausoleum I originally marked with a 1 previously here. And you can kind of see that while there's like a lot of marks that this is like overgrown and the traffic is lessened, you can still see occasionally these kind of like damn, I can't think of the word, cloven hooves that are kind of like separated in the grass, and it hides well into the growth of the grass. But you do indeed feel like you spot not only more wear in this area, but also cloven footprints that lead off into this area.
Yeah, so he's going to Declan will kind of bring this to Robert's attention, and the cloven hooves maybe seem a little odd, but this definitely seems like the one that's seeing the most traffic.
It all seems a little odd, doesn't it? He said nobody really comes down here to visit anybody, and even if they did, why would somebody have a beast of burden with them? Well, I've got a key if you want to check it out, and I'll just hold up the crowbar.
Declan will he'll nod and kind of go for it, and he'll keep the light on, kind of to try and help him get in, or try to just kind of keep an eye out, almost if is it actually like raining or thundering? He's almost thinking like he could try to like time his kind of smashing it like with the
We're gonna go for like you can kind of smell like the first signs of rain in the air, like the ozone is kind of building in the area. It's not necessarily the type of thing where this would be especially odd for like the northeastern United States at dusk for the chances of a thunderstorm to be increased. And then as well, it's late in summer, moving into kind of the fall area. This is kind of like cloudburst season.
Gotcha. Okay. So Declan would kind of let Robert try and kind of break in, and he would try to keep an eye out,
Before I
make
do
sure we're
this,
not interrupted.
you sure you're okay with it? I mean, you're not going to be able to stick around here. You're going to know it was us. We were asking questions, then next thing you know, a break in.
Well, I mean, I suppose it might be suspicious, but look at all these footprints. Obviously, we're not the only ones who come around here.
You don't got to tell me twice, and I'll jam the crowbar in.
Gotcha. So go ahead and do a strength roll here.
25, which is um
It's a hard success, right? I think 40 is your hard
the
success.
middle. Yep.
Excellent. So yeah, as you crack open, like you kind of like shimmy the crowbar into this little door to the mausoleum, and as you put a little bit of force onto it, you hear like a little bit of a crack from inside, and this door starts to swing open, and there's kind of like a burst of like a pressure differential as you hear a little bit of a I need both of you to make a constitution check here. And this is going to be a hard difficulty. You need to roll under 1/2 of your Constitution score.
78 for me, so that is definitely not a success.
Yeah, definitely not.
So,
79.
as this horrible stench of death kind of wafts out of this mausoleum, each of you are going to stumble. And as you kind of go hazy-eyed, your heads are going to flop down to the grass. You are both going to pass out.
Once we like know we've already failed, is it too late to push something?
Sorta, kinda.
No, that's fine. That's cool.
So, as you two kind of come back into consciousness sometime later, it is indeed kind of drizzling, and you do hear the occasional crack of thunder overhead. And at first, takes you a moment to recognize that you're sitting in a damp field of grass, that you're still in this area right outside the mausoleum. The smell of death and decay is still strong. It's no longer overwhelming. But eventually there's a crack. And as you see like the shadow in the lightning, you can see that there's a strange looking man who's kind of sat next to you all, overlooking this kind of area where the mausoleum is. And from this gravestone, he's got a book in his hands, and he seems to be kind of looking over it. The next time the lightning cracks, you see he's not wearing any shoes. His feet seems to be misshapen. I need you two to make a sanity roll for me, please.
79. That's a fail.
I rolled 57. I have 55 sanity. If I spend 2, can I pass that, or does it not work with sanity?
I'm pretty sure it works with sanity. I don't remember that one offhand, but I'm pretty sure it works with sanity.
Okay. So if I spend, I'm going to go ahead and spend the 2, so I'll go down to 53, but it will pass me.
Gotcha. So yeah. We're gonna go for roll a d4 for me with Declan.
Okay, I don't have a D. I'll do that one in Albert. I don't have a D4 hit. Two.
Gotcha. So we're gonna have Declan will lose 2 sanity here. And then Robert, you're going to lose 1 sanity. And this is while you all kind of like are seeing in these lightning strikes this silhouetted person who seems to be a person reading a book, seems to be sitting where you would expect Douglas used to sit. You notice these cloven hooves instead of feet, and you notice, oddly, his canines are almost growing up and out of his mouth. His jaw seems misshapen. This person resembles a human, but not quite so. And as you start to stir, you're going to hear as they kind of look towards you. What has you two disturbing the cemetery? What do you guys think of as this figure, 5-10 feet away from you, kind of overlooking you, kind of like claps their book shut to speak to you as you stir?
Yeah, so I think Declan's initial kind of instinct is to try and, assuming he maybe grabbed the or dropped the flashlight when he passed out, is almost to try and grab it and almost kind of like hold it like almost like defensively, like he's going to use it as a, or not the flashlight, the electric torch, which I can't help but think of as a flashlight, like almost like as a defensive weapon kind of thing, and just like getting over, as he sees the shock of the kind of this obviously not quite human creature. It's like, who are you?
And I'm gonna like just casually not move and just kind of like try to nondescriptly like look for the crowbar, see if it's still around.
So let me have, I would say, let's go for a hard luck from Declan. And then I feel like I'm leaning too hard on luck because it's a good like kind of fit all. But I feel like I'll do the same for you with Robert. Let me get hard lucks from both of you, which is the 1/2.
Nope, that would be a fail. 52 for me. So that's above half.
Yeah, 46 is a fail for me. My half was like 29, 31.
So when you kind of like reach around to try to find the crowbar, you're kind of like as softly as you can patting your hands against the ground, trying to feel for this object. And you don't seem to be coming across it. It seems like wherever you fell, you can kind of see signs that you're still at the front of that mausoleum, that maybe he's taken the crowbar away from this area. When you do eventually kind of do the same and find the flashlight, with a click, it doesn't seem to have any power left. The lights have kind of burned out. So at some point, you'll have to switch those batteries to like gain the use of your light again. But it seems like the torch has been left on this time. But he seems to just kind of be like sitting there, book closed, as you two kind of feel around. There's no need to be worried. You don't have your crowbar anymore. Why have you come searching? Why have you come to bother us?
I'm sorry, did you say us?
I am no more alone now as I ever was before.
And are you Douglas? Uncle Douglas?
Some time ago, I was Douglas. Oh, I don't believe I have any family to say I'm your uncle.
According to the lawyer who found me, said that you left me your house. That's why we're out here. And as he's kind of he's trying to like seem like this is like a normal conversation, but he's still obviously very kind of what is going on.
So was the sanity like roll we made earlier, is that basically to see if we're able to like keep our shit right now and have a normal conversation with the hooved fanged beast man?
Yeah, like a sanity, usually anytime you come in contact with any mythos creature, you're going to have an attached sanity roll. This is the first time you've seen whatever it is that he is. So that is part of the cause for the sanity roll.
But I mean, presumably, technically I passed. So does that mean I'm able to kind of keep my shit here and have a conversation with this dude?
Precisely, yeah. Like neither of you is going so crazy that you have any reason to act any otherwise than you want to. Um, I think even giving Declan a D4 to roll, I think he would have had to roll a 4 before I even have the chance of giving him a temporary madness, which is basically to say, like, when you guys see him at this point, you have enough clues that whatever is happening around here might be people. It also might be something that lives underground. It might be people who are interesting to Douglas. They also might be hooved creatures. So, like, all of these things coming together, your mind isn't struggling to, like, hide the information from you. So you can, like, kind of connect the dots enough to, like, continue to breathe.
Okay, cool. I'm trying to see like what my kind of like mental state is. So I guess knowing that the crowbar is gone, obviously there's something going on here. This is kind of the heart of what we're here to figure out. Um, I'm gonna just like spill the beans. Look, we came here, looking for you, try to figure out what happened. What happened? Are you dead?
That can mean many things. Perhaps Douglas Kimball is dead. But I have found more.
We found your journals. They led us here. You spoke about the friends underneath. What friends?
And they are all like like you.
Perhaps I am more like them. Maybe they are like us. But yes, I have more friends below. We'll be closing these tunnels soon. Hoped to recover some of my books. Before doing so, I miss them most of all in this new life below.
Closing the tunnels. You mean forever?
Forever is a long time. Like love, it can mean many things. But perhaps to you, closing them forever. Yes.
Well, I suppose if you want some of your books, we could try and get some for you. But I'd like to see these tunnels for myself, just for a moment.
A moment can be dangerous, but perhaps if your curiosity was worth your life, you might choose to do so.
I mean, at this point, Declan's going to kind of look towards Robert, see how he's taking all of this.
Worth our life, our curiosity. I'm not even. What about now? Are we in danger?
I am no more a danger to you. The crowbar is a danger to me. And you'll see as he kind of like points off, like it kind of like sits leaned up against the mausoleum, a few feet away from your reach. One of the next times the thunder strikes, you can see it pretty clearly that you could like kind of shimmy over there and get to it. But the others are more bestial. You're safe as long as I don't go too far.
Does Melodious know about you and the others?
Ah, Lodius. I have not heard his name for some time. No, he does not enjoy this place in the same way. Perhaps I was always different. Always waiting to change. Maybe I heard the call. No, Melodious does his job, and he was interested in the conversation. But I don't believe Melodious's mind was ready to understand the world outside of Arkham County, let alone the world beneath.
Well, if you're willing to take us down and stay close, I don't mind going and fetching some of your books.
Roll a charm.
Nope, 65. I'm not that charming.
I believe your interest has already answered my desire for the books. I was warned away from old ways, this new life. is beyond. I think were you to come below, you may find the choice to return is not yours to make.
Yeah, so Declan's a little torn. He's kind of having gotten, still, this is all disturbing, but he's kind of maybe gotten over his initial just fright, and he knows who this person used to be. So part of him wants to kind of press and insist, but part of him's like, maybe this is just you know maybe not. Well, um it was I'm glad that I got the chance to meet you at least, and thanks for the house.
Can I kind of? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. What are you thinking?
Can I kind of just like scope around? I know it's dark. I know it's like kind of night or whatever, but like, do I see any movement, any figures, get any inclination that we're not alone currently?
Roll a spot hidden.
No, I'm 25.
Yeah, as you kind of like look around in the darkness, it feels like it's basically the three of you right now.
So, what is it that you're doing here now? Are you just here because of us?
Oh, waiting here. Yes. Tonight was to be the last day for these tunnels. I believe when I return, we will be closing them off. So neither I nor any more can return to this place.
How many of them? How many of you are there down there?
We think of individuality differently, giving names, talking to one another. Below, it's different. I see many, but to know who belongs to what, how many there are, is too many, too much, beyond count.
But This doesn't make sense. You've been gone for a year, and he just got the house, and we just traveled all this way, and only just gotten here today. Can't be coincidence that we're here. You brought us here. What are the chances that it would be on the last day?
I named no heir. I had no family that I knew of. From my perspective, my desire for my books was all that drove me. The understanding that this route to my home would close was all that drove me. My thoughts and desires lie beneath the ground. I no longer understand what's above.
You never met the lawyer fellow named of Matthias? He's gonna check the card that he was given for the last name. You don't know that? Did you tell me you don't know that fellow? Arturus, Matthias Arturus.
My my legal affairs seems familiar. I don't recall naming an heir. Don't recall knowing any who would be my heir.
And these tunnels you're closing off. How far did they go?
Um, he's going to start to explain some of the places he's gone, some of the places he's come up from below, and I want you each to make another sanity roll. As you start to come to the realization that these tunnels go everywhere. To graveyards here, graveyards there. He's been all through kind of like the New England, Eastern United States area. You might start to wonder if these tunnels go many places beyond. As he describes places where it becomes so hot that like your flesh almost starts to burn as you're stepping through these tunnels. Looks like 40. I think that's a success on your sanity with Robert. What did you
Yeah, I
roll with
got a
Declan?
pass.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, 33. So that's also a pass for me.
Gotcha. So just do one more sanity from each of you as you start to kind of come to the realization that, like, when he's describing where these creatures go, it's everywhere.
So on the second one, I fail with the 86.
Wait. Not a second one.
Oh, my bad. I thought you said roll again. Sorry about that.
No, just like lose one sanity.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I misunderstood you.
Yeah, like right now, I think, Robert, you've passed 2 sanity checks, but I still want you to have lost 1 sanity with each of them. And I think Declan passed 1 and failed 1, I still wanted him to lose a sanity with the pass. So I think Declan might have lost 4 total, or maybe 3 total.
3, yeah, 'cause I rolled a 2 on the failed one, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. I lost 2 and I spent 2. I got you. Sorry about that.
Well, no, but you should have spent 2 luck, different than sanity.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I should be on 53 sanity and 56 luck. Okay, I misunderstood that from earlier.
Well, you don't spend sanity, you spend your luck points. So when you used luck, I think you should have reduced that probably from 55 to 53, sounds about right. But your sanity, I think you've lost 2 points of.
Yeah,
Which is
it was the other way around. That's why I got confused when I said if I spend sanity to pass a sanity test. But I was supposed to be spending luck. So I went from 58 luck to
correct.
56 luck and 55 sanity to 53 sanity. I got it. I got it.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, luck is the thing that you spend to pass other things. I think you can use luck to pass sanity, but I don't know. But I do know that like you can't use luck to pass a luck roll. But yeah, he kind of like just shares this idea that like these tunnels go everywhere. And it's like prolific as he kind of describes like trying to think when the Statue of Liberty was put up, but just kind of like imagine like he's basically describing like coming up in Washington D.C., describing like coming up in like Portsmouth, Maine, but like these tunnels are everywhere.
And when you say they're closing the tunnels, you mean just this one or all of them?
No, no, no. Where we close some, we open others. We have to eat after all.
I will like look up like wide-eyed when he says that.
Yeah, I think I'll Declan be instinctively taking a step back there.
What do you eat?
It's better to be ignorant than to know something.
So I guess I'm gonna start like I don't know if we're just kind of crouched down or sitting down or what, but at this point in time, I'm gonna like start to like stand up.
Yeah, and Declan's gonna try and like whisper to Robert, like, dude, get the hell out of here before he gets hungry.
Yeah, can I kind of survey the land one more time and put my eyes on that crowbar?
Yeah, you're not terribly far from the crowbar. To like step over and grab it would just be like a step or two. But yeah, you guys are basically still inside of the graveyard, a little closer. Whoops, a little closer to the mausoleum than he is to the gravestone that he reads from. But you guys are like close enough to each other, but also far enough. If you guys were ready to run, you would run closer to him by going like south of the mausoleum and towards the break in the fence, versus you could run further from him by going north of the mausoleum and through the fence.
And north is where we saw the most of the tracks were at.
Well, the tracks lead to this mausoleum. That was the point. My point of saying, like, going north of the mausoleum takes you away from Douglas.
Yeah, I'm thinking we want to try and get back to wherever we left the car.
Car's back at the house.
Yeah, so I think I'm eyeing the crowbar. Gonna try to just keep this nice and peaceful, cordial, kind of keep, my head on a swivel and make our departure.
Yeah, I think Declan is. Yeah, he's like, you know what? Maybe, yeah, I thought about it. Maybe you're right. I shouldn't go down there. I think maybe I'm sure you have things to prepare, and we'll just um, be on our way. Maybe.
So you'll see in one of the next like lightning strikes or so, as he kind of like holds the book up to his chest a little bit more, arms crossed as you guys kind of stand up and prepare to like step around the northern side of the mausoleum. The light kind of catches the outer brim of this book, and you can see it says Dracula. He has his copy of Bram Stoker's Dracula. But he kind of like nods to you all. And as you guys kind of like move around the mausoleum, he kind of just sits there. And more or less, you guys can start to make your way back towards the house. And he seems to remain behind. And that's where we're going to wrap things up here.
So it's like the whole time, like, so even as we're moving, like, there's, from what he was telling about the tunnels, like, there's no escaping those tunnels, right? They're under everything.
Yeah, essentially part of what you guys would be taking that second sanity test for is the recognition that, like, if we put bodies in the ground, they build tunnels to there so they can eat them.
Yeah, that was because yeah, that was kind of a nice like you seemed like almost like okay, like a normal, person for a bit, and then it's like, oh yeah, and they have kind of underground tunnels and they eat people, and it's like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, like again, this is meant to be a beginner's little campaign. I think a large part of it is designed around the fact that like they might be bringing people in from something like say Dungeons and Dragons where you're more inclined to like fight something like Meaning Douglas. But like one of the things on how this happens is there's a lot of different ways to encounter him first, and he is basically designed to be the first one you encounter. And that tends to put you guys at the advantage on choosing, do we attack? Do we try to talk to it? Do we try to render it unconscious? The one way where you can kind of be at the largest disadvantage is going to open the mausoleum and getting knocked out by the gas. Um, I put like one clue into one of the newspapers about the horrendous stench. Um, I think I had a second one somewhere to try to give you all the vague idea. Oh, yeah, I don't think you ever came across the second clue about the stench. But the vague idea is to kind of say, like, they have it in there. If you crack open the mausoleum and don't say, I'm holding my breath, like in the module, it knocks you out. I like the idea of at least making it a constitution save or a constitution check, even if it's hard. It at least gives you something to potentially like weather the storm. But that's one of those things like if you open the mausoleum, it's pretty much guaranteed that you're about to wake up with him just like reading over you. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's kind of designed to have him, and then if you attack him, he doesn't necessarily want to fight. But if you attack him, eventually you kind of like get the ire of everything else, which is not friendly in the least bit. But it's just one of those things like there's so many levels of this one is designed to at least give you a chance where you're not going straight to combat, that it is a little bit more relaxed than you'll maybe normally get, kind of coming to the conclusion in Call of Cthulhu. But like technically, that's one of those things where, like, as your characters kind of advance and things, like, each of you met a mythos creature. He's a ghoul. And I think offhand, when you have an encounter with mythos creatures, you gain like 2 in the Cthulhu mythos skill. And then I think at the end of the kind of campaign, like at the end of this mission, you have a chance to regain some sanity. But it's one of those things, like, it's one shot, it's not necessarily a big deal. But inside of a campaign, it is something, because you guys didn't necessarily lose sanity, that you couldn't get it back at the end of the campaign or at the end of the session.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. And I think I also, now that you mention it, like with regard to like the passing out, like I think there might have been even something in one of the journals about how he, doesn't remember so much time passing, like all of a sudden it was later, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe when he first came here, he passed out, and that's kind of what happened to him. And there's another kind of, you know, in hindsight, a clue as to yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of what this kind of setup ends up being, is a lot of it is build up, and it's very easy to get to the point where, like, a conclusion is climactic just as much as it's anticlimactic. Um, this is one of those things where you gain the knowledge, but you don't necessarily have like a dangerous encounter with something. But you do kind of ride that fine line between, like, you feel like there's dangerous things happening around you. But it's always hard to necessarily predict like how dangerous the situation is. And then also, this one's like normally designed for 1 player. With 2 players, it's a good bit easier. But one thing, like, 2 players has a lot more chances of like finding all of the information and not necessarily getting lost. But it's also easier for like 1 of 2 players to actually take things to hostile actions. I mean, you can finish this one in minutes if you come over right to the cemetery and you're just like, yeah, I'm trying to bust open one of these mausoleums, and you just like ignore Melodious. There's so many things about this one where, like, it doesn't have to play out as like a long investigation to all of a sudden have stuff go down.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking, like, if we hadn't found that key and found the journals, it would have been obviously a much. I mean, we did a fair amount of investigation anyway, even with that. But if we hadn't gotten that at the beginning, it probably would have been a lot more like going into town and speaking to people, and could spend a lot more time just trying to get a sense of what's going on.
Yeah, and that's one of the weird things, because like all of the other clues in town are just like, go to the cemetery. Weird stuff happens at the cemetery. And it's just one of those things where, like, if you find the journal trumps every other investigation kind of thing. And then I switched things up to make it that you inherit the house instead of it's his nephew that inherits the house and has break-ins at the house. But it feels very detached to say, like, hey, $10, come out and investigate my house, versus like kind of a very weird, mysterious, like, why am I inheriting a house from somebody I don't know in the family? Um, I kind of feel like that, like, loophole kind of feels a little like more mysteriously Lovecraftian, because that to me is like very Lovecraftian, where it's like, why the fuck did somebody I don't know give me a house?
It's like perfect setup. 13 Ghosts.
Yeah, precisely. That's almost, yeah, that's awesome. I forgot about 13th Ghost doing that. But yeah, like, that's, to me, that's very Lovecraftian, where you're like, what the fuck is going on? I don't have an uncle. Why do I have a house? It just feels so much more engaging to me than to say, because the other way of playing it is you've got to like make, I think originally it's called Thomas Kimball. And Thomas Kimball I replaced with the lawyer. The difference is that Thomas Kimball lives in the house, which makes it a lot easier to have an NPC in the house rather than like you guys didn't even let the lawyer come to the house. That creates a little better story, but like at the same time, you guys still found the journal. The journal takes you to the end game. Whereas like the nephew is like, I'm trying to figure out who's breaking into the study and taking my uncle's books. Like that's why he brings you out here. It's only in kind of hindsight, and it feels very weird that he like says in like the module's invitation, like, hey, can you figure out who's stealing my uncle's books? And also my uncle who's been dead for a year, but we never found the body. Maybe let me know if he's still alive.
Yeah, I
But
thought it
yeah,
was like a pretty believable like plot setup and everything. I thought it flowed pretty well. I never got to the point where I was like, "Oh, this is so frustrating. We can't figure out what to do." I think more than anything, it seemed obvious that, like after finding the book, there was something definitely weird going on. It was sort of like, verified when we went and met Melodius because it's like, oh, this isn't just ramblings of a crazy man. So I thought it was pretty good. It flowed pretty well. It definitely had me like on edge, like anything could happen. And then like, of course, when you get knocked out, it's like so obvious because you think of like the mummy when they like crack open the thing and you're like, oh, I can't believe I didn't hold my breath.
yeah, and like that's it to a T, just like with the gases in the mummy.
Well, we'll know for the next time we break into a mausoleum.
But yeah, I mean that's meant to be like what is it, a 2 to 4 hour module with pre-generated characters. We spent about an hour making the characters, and it's what is that, 10 o'clock right now, like 9:30. So that's about 4 hours with an hour of making characters. You guys hit about half of the like locations. Um, and that's one of the things. Every single character in this module, like, basically has like this initial, like, the neighbor lady. She sees you, and you either look wealthy enough or you look pretty enough that she wants to talk to you. Otherwise, she's got nothing for you. I feel like it kind of is like a little lazy to say, look, I need you to have a car, because realistically, one of the things that fits really well into this place, like these games, is that you're often stranded places and walking places. So giving you a car kind of makes it a little cheaper, because like it shouldn't be a question of like, does Melodius drive? You almost should assume everybody is either walking or riding like a bicycle places, because like bicycling was like middle class, and owning a car is definitely upper middle class kind of thing.
Yeah, especially in the 20s. I kind of, yeah, have to try and like keep in mind that, because I definitely didn't like all the time, like the time period this was kind of in. Like I had like old timey, but like yeah, cars in the 20s were still pretty much a luxury, right?
I think it's like 15 years after the Model T, so you pretty much have everything is generally still kind of like custom one-offs almost. It's
Yeah,
like
I
the
want to.
start of standardizing like hardware, so you could actually make stuff that was generic for a vehicle.
Yeah, 1908 was the first Model T. Just looked it up. So yeah,
Yeah, but like little things like that add to it. It's one of those things, like, I feel like sometimes it would be easier to play modern, but that comes down to, instead of like sending you off to the library, it's a question of like, a library used to see if you know how to like search the right information on your smartphone. So like you're not actually going places to search stuff, but like NPCs are my ability to give you information. And that's one of the things where sometimes it's really easy for you to like say no to the lawyer, but like the lawyer didn't necessarily finish explicating like the start of this scenario, because you guys could have learned a lot more from the lawyer, and like that's whose voice kind of tells you the most about Douglas.
Yeah, I think one thing I definitely like in hindsight, looking back, it's like probably just the fact that you were connected, Declan, makes me think like, oh, he probably has more information. But in all reality, like I pretty much know we both have no information. So I like the beginning, I probably should have been a little more like vocal, but it kind of gives you the impression it's kind of like, oh, it's your rodeo, I'm along for the ride kind of thing.
Well, I got that from you after you asked that question twice. I was like, wait a second. Like, until you said whatever it was about how you selected the boxer, you didn't seem to want to be inclined towards the Society for the um whatever of the Unexplained. Like, it seemed like you were like the skeptical, and you didn't necessarily want to have like a background with them, even though you were older than like school age kind of thing, and you were a boxer, not necessarily faculty. I was like, all right, well, I can't give him the house because he's so isolated. Like, he's not necessarily going to be a part of the Society for um whatever of the Unexplained. Like, that was one of those things. Like, I was going to start the entire game with a luck roll to see who got the house, and it was only like after you guys kind of described your characters that it was like, yeah, I kind of have to give it just right off the bat to Declan. But yeah, when you actually asked that question, then you were like, wait a second, he still hasn't answered. Is he hiding information from me? I was like, oh, wait, he's wondering if Declan is hiding the information. And that was when I was like, no, 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 no. He's not supposed to recognize this person any more than you are.
Yeah, I mean, I was obviously just like winging it with character creation, but I thought that worked out pretty good. I mean, it made sense that we like would have known each other, and then obviously like the stature and me being a boxer, it's like, oh yeah, like some muscle come along with me. I thought that was pretty good setup, like for just kind of winging it, honestly.
Well,
Yeah,
I
no,
that's
oh no, go ahead.
that's how I feel like background should be done. You guys took the information that you knew and wanted to start with, took the information from the other person, what they had said and what they were going with, and you each added stuff to your character and modified things from your character to fit into their story. So you actually had the like interplay of characters. That's how I want people to always session zero create characters. You don't need to have a background to start to figure out who your character is. You need to have like the lattice and just build it so it fits with the other part of the group.
I think a lot of people get one of two things. They either like start creating a character and then start just like coming up with so much stuff that it's like they're ready to just write every page of this character's life that's happened and will happen, or they literally just like put in no work or don't care at all.
Yeah, and it's weird where the balance is that I actually want from people, because no work isn't necessarily bad because it shouldn't take much work to have a background, but writing a whole big huge thing is the same reason why I was like I'm down for you to have reasons with Robert to like have like a rekindled interest, but to say that you've already had like mythos experiences is one of those things where it's just like it starts to become like a whole different kind of unexplainable, because again, usually when you've had mythos encounters, you basically have a loss of insanity and also an increase in your mythos skill, because you pretty much can't come in contact with something and not recognize it next time. So if you all ever came in contact with a ghoul in the future, you would start to recognize like canine like features, cloven hooves, a general kind of stench of death, and they tend to be in graveyards. Like, those are four of the main qualities that tell you this is a